As soon as I get the mic turned on, our city council work session, Monday, December the 5th, and it's about 6:32, and we will get started, and we're probably going to be here a while, but it sure is good to see everybody here. It's nice. We don't see that as often as it would be nice to have you here. So with that said, we'll move to Planning and Zoning Committee report. Ms. Linda Dodd.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, we have a lot to talk about, and I'm going to bring Tim Prater up and let him do the talking.
Okay, this is Tim Prater, Director of Planning and Zoning.
All right, Mayor and Council, we have 6 cases tonight. I'm going to read the annexations and the rezones in together, and then turn it back over to y'all to ask any questions or anything. So the first case we have is the annexation, case number A22-008. The applicant is Split Silk Properties, LLC at P.O. Box 1725, Loganville. The property owner is Teresa King Needham. The parcel number is C0210016. The present zoning is B2 and A2. The address is 4900 Highway 78 Loganville in Walton County. It's 5.84 acres. The proposed development is commercial retail center. The Planning Commission did recommend approval of the annexation. The rezone for that annexation is case number R22-009. The applicant is Split Silk Properties, LLC. The property owner is Teresa Needham. Parcel number is C0210016. The present zoning is B2 and A2. The requested zoning is CH. The address is 4900 Highway 78 in Walton County. It's 5.84 acres for a commercial center. The Planning Commission did recommend approval of the rezone, and the applicant is here if y'all have any questions.
Mr. Mayor, Tim, could you please explain, because there's people here that may not know, B2 and A2?
That is a county zoning for business and agricultural.
Okay, is there any questions from the council, and then we'll have community input? Any specific questions?
I do. I've been talking to Danny. I don't know where he went. I've been talking to Danny, and I think, Robin, you'll have to answer this. If we're looking at the picture, it's just one more strip mall for Loganville. And there's a strip mall right across the street. There's a strip mall down the street, strip mall everywhere you turn in Loganville. And I want to build Loganville for what we want to attract. And what I don't want to attract are more vape shops, tattoo parlors, nail salons, and things like that. So my question has been, on this particular zoning, can we eliminate certain businesses out of, if we approve this, can we say you can do it, but you can't have X, Y, and Z?
If the applicant agrees to that as a condition of the rezoning. And again, the vote will have to be that the annexation is approved, and then you will hear or vote on the rezoning. And if the applicant agrees that that is a condition of the rezoning, that's up to the applicant.
Okay. My other question is, because this actual part of the voting process would be before we ever voted in our tree ordinance and the changes to our stormwater. So I wouldn't want this to be grandfathered in, so to speak, to the old zoning. So it would be, so I want to make sure that that the new tree ordinance that we possibly will vote in and the new wastewater would be applicable to this.
Yes, there's a moratorium on applications for permits for development, and so that would they would not be grandfathered into anything. Once they came forward and assuming you all annex the property in and approve the rezoning, then they would have to come and apply for various permits with Tim's department. And at that point, if you approve the tree and stormwater ordinances, they would be in place and would govern the development of these properties.
Okay, any other questions from council? With Tim?
Well, and then I have another question. Looking at this, this is along 78, but the back of this backs up to Old Zion Cemetery, which
Correct.
is, for all intents and purposes, that's a residential street. It is the infrastructure under it, and everything, it's a residential street. Just because this property is surrounded on all sides by other commercial property, I see that they're gonna have a back entrance where they're gonna be dumping all the traffic onto Old Zion Cemetery. Is there any way we can eliminate having a back entrance and their only way in and out of this strip mall would be to keep that commercial traffic on a commercial highway?
That would be another question for Ms. Webb.
My apologies, can you repeat the question? I was searching for a document within the packet.
This particular parcel, surrounded completely by commercial property, and I understand that. However, the road that backs up to it, is Old Zion Cemetery, which is a residential street. It is used for residential. I mean, it goes to the neighborhoods and there's houses there. It's not designed to handle commercial property. It's not designed to handle the garbage trucks that'll be coming in and picking up the dumpsters. It's not designed to handle the 18-wheelers that'll be delivering merchandise to here. And it really will be putting a lot of overflow traffic onto a residential street going through a neighborhood. Is there any way to make the only entrance to a commercial property be on that commercial highway that it fronts?
What do your development regs say about that, Tim?
It doesn't. On their site plan, they show a entrance on 78, which will probably be a right-in, right-out only. That's what DOT's doing in that area. So they have a secondary entrance and exit onto Old Zion Cemetery.
Do they have anyone here, Tim?
I would
Yes.
want to hear from the applicant on that.
Yeah.
To see what they would be willing to do and what their feelings are about having only one entrance. And then we can further discuss it if that's okay.
I just had multiple calls from people and visits from people that live through there, and I can understand their frustration. I wouldn't want those delivery trucks in and out, and I'm trying to get out. They already can't get out at the end up there where Popeyes is.
Tim, is this not a requirement for the fire department to have two entrances?
I don't know if it's a requirement. I know they do require to have access all the way around the building.
And we can limit the truck traffic on Old Zion Cemetery to 26,000 or under because the school buses currently have to use that. So we couldn't limit to zero or vehicles only because the school buses do use that to the entrance of the school as
Right.
well. So we could limit it to buses and below, but not, maybe to answer your question, Councilwoman Long, is maybe 18-wheelers, we could limit that. I would have to look into that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a fire department requirement or not.
Okay.
That's kind of what I was asking, the same thing, is if there's something in any of the regs, like you have to have two entrances, or if there's already a weight limit on that street, and who would govern that?
Well, it is a city street.
Correct.
So it would fall under our transportation department. But as far as a requirement to have two entrances and exits, I mean, there's a lot of businesses on 78 that only have one. So I don't know if that's a requirement for the fire department or not.
Okay.
I don't know that it's necessarily fair to categorize that this is the only lot in the middle of a residential neighborhood. I mean, I deal with Old Zion, I know there are residents here, the buses, my daughter's in high school, but this is next to the car wash, I'm looking at the map, that's why, this is next to the car wash and the Popeyes, across the street from the office complex that has the bank, et cetera, backs up to the school and some other commercial. So the closest would be, I guess, Wendell's house, which is right across the street. Say that again? Right, yeah, yeah, on that side, and then Wendell's is across the street, but this is not the only, it's not the only commercial potential property in this area. Everything on this end of Old Zion is CH or,
Well, that's what I said. It's completely surrounded except for these apartments right
Right.
here. It is, I'm conceding that. It is.
yeah.
But all these other businesses, like this office park right here and all this, those all dump right out onto 78. But you're gonna be taking a shopping center that's probably equivalent to the size of the Publix area.
I don't think that's right.
How many acres is the Publix?
Hang on, I can tell you, I'm looking at the plat.
But then they're gonna be, most of them, because who wants to go out onto 78? Nobody. Where are they gonna go? They're gonna go right there on Old Zion Cemetery, and then they're gonna come up here and try to get out at that intersection and just cause problems for all these people that live back here.
I mean, Publix is 13 acres, this is 5.84, so it's less than half. So what would you want it to be?
I wouldn't wanna see an exit go out onto Old Zion. You can put your two exits right here on the front, like Home Depot there.
How are they gonna get out and turn left to go to Athens? There's a decel lane that they would be coming off of, coming into Loganville, but, so you would have them cross 78 to turn left?
No, but what are we gonna do about this whole intersection?
That's not
Well,
part of this discussion. But I mean, what would you have them do business-wise? You said no tattoo shops, no nails. What would you want them to do?
You mean business-wise? They can put office space, they can put other businesses in there. Put restaurants in there.
Okay.
Are you Jeff?
Unfortunately, yes.
You're Jeff? Jeff Timmel, I see your name on the list.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Would you like to address that question?
Yes, I appreciate the opportunity. Yes, sir. If you want this to be a successful development, we need another entrance. If you want a good restaurant in there, you want a good retail establishment, you've got to have multiple access points. You talk to any transportation engineer out there, they're going to say you need multiple access points. You don't want to dump everything on Highway 78 like you've already got. You got 40,000 cars there a day. You need extra entrance points. You've already got 4 other businesses on Mount Zion right now that enter on Mount Zion. You've got Popeyes, Car Wash, you got the office complex, and you got Trinity. So that's no longer a residential road in theory. And so DOT's already said we're going to have a right in, right out. It makes so many, you got to give people options, right? And people need options. They don't need to go right in, right out and not be able to get into this development. So it's really important that we have that access point. And to address the other comments about, restrictions on uses, I'm pretty sure the owner would be amenable. I need to talk to them between now and the voting meeting to, restricting the vape shop. There's already so many vape shops, nail shops. I mean, we can restrict that if you'd like to make it a restrictive conditions. I think that'll be, I need to, again, speak with the owner about that as well. But, the annexation, state law encourages annexation from a service delivery standpoint. Obviously, it's surrounded by the county. It makes sense. I don't think anybody here wants to live on Highway 78. I mean, that residential, they built this house, Neiman's built this house in 1960. I don't think anybody here really wants to live on Highway 78 with 40,000 cars. So the question is, what is it? And we hope to build a nice commercial, yes, another development, but the market is already there. If you think about it, we're not creating the market. The commercial comes because of residential. They're not going to invest $10 million in a property based upon a gamble, for example. They know that the market's there, and they know they can get some quality establishments there. If you would like to restrict it, I can talk with owners again. So I hope that answered some of those questions.
I would like to go back just a little bit to what y'all were talking about. Y'all know I live right on the other side of this, and people use my road as a cut through as it is to get to the red light instead of avoiding that big hill right there. And I know you're standing there, so please don't tell on me. But I see people actually using that to avoid that intersection, especially they have to go right anyways. So I see that actually could possibly alleviate some traffic from the other end, because people are already using my road to cut through.
You're saying what would ease
If
traffic?
we have an entrance on the back and the front, instead of going up and taking that almost impossible left right there by Discount Tobacco, I can see people using that as a cut through to get to 78 to take a right anyways. So it actually might alleviate some of the traffic.
So you're saying people
Further
were
down
gonna
the
use
road.
this parking lot as a cut, you lost
You
me
know,
there.
they might, they, they use it
I
for
mean,
discount tobacco
I'm not following
all
along
the
with you, so that's
time.
what you lost me there, so.
Because they already use my road as a cut through. People avoid this back road anyways,
Right. Oh,
as
okay.
it is. So I don't really see people going back there. I see more people using this as another
Okay.
cut through
All right.
to get out. I'm not saying it wouldn't add more traffic, but it might alleviate some as well. It could go either way, where they're having another way to get to 78. I'm not saying it's a public road and people shouldn't be doing that, but they might come in from the back to do their shopping, then go back out on 78. Zion Wood.
Anybody else have any more questions?
So far, you got off light.
Sorry?
So far, you gotten off light.
Yeah.
Okay. Linda, if you don't mind, are we ready to open it up to the folks here who want to speak? And then I would like to move to do each section separately is the way we need to do it. Do the annexation first, and then do the rezoning.
Yes, you don't necessarily have to have public comment on the annexation. You do on the rezone. People can talk about either or. It's up to the pleasure of the council. But definitely on the rezone, you need to open it up for a public comment for and against.
Because I got another question.
Yeah, I've got a question, Skip. I know that Old Zion's our road, right? City's road. Can we do anything with stop signs or, I mean, do we have any creative things that we can do that gives us all a win? You know, we don't overload the traffic for the people on Old Zion. We give a second entrance and exit for the developer. You know,
How about speed bumps?
no, that's not going to eliminate people. Hang on.
Okay.
It's not going to be people going left or right, but like stopping people going up and down that road.
You can't stop people from using a public road.
No, I mean, like, stop them physically, like with a stop light or a
Yes.
stop sign.
As
I'm
long as
sorry.
it's not in the right of way of the GDOT, you can do what the council pleases, as long as we meet the current sight distance that's required for stop signs. There is
Okay.
a section, it's MUTC, Bill may have to help me on this, but there is a guideline that we have to follow for sight distance for stop signs. So long as it meets that, then yes. Speed humps, we have an ordinance where the residents, 75%, I believe, have to ask for it, and then we have to do a speed study. And as long as it meets, I believe, 85% going over the posted speed limit by 10 miles, it can do that. But those are your ordinances. You can change them as you feel. But there are certain things we can do on our city roads, yes.
Could we make it a one-way? It's just a question. I'm just asking.
Yes, you could.
You could make it a one-way right only all the way down to the
Yes,
high
I
school?
believe those roads are ours and at the pleasure of the council.
Where would, I'm just thinking creatively. Do we have any out road that we could use? Do we have any property we could take it where they could go right out of the back? I mean, which eliminates a lot of issues, right? Not just this.
Well, you would have to you have to have an entrance and an exit for the vehicles, so you couldn't make this one road one way because then they wouldn't be able to get out.
But do we have any way, if they went right down Old Zion towards the high school, do we have any roads that we could cut them right and get them back to 78?
No. Because the high school is private property and the
Right.
cottages are private property.
Right?
What is this road right here?
That goes to the back of the school.
The city cannot dump traffic onto a private road.
Right.
I thought this was that office part.
It is, but there's a school right here, and this is where Shepherd Staff is.
Okay.
Rosebud's
So I was
here.
looking to see if.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a
School
private
system.
road.
Okay.
That's a private street.
All right.
The only thing you could do is get the property from the current developer and put a street through it, make it a public road, but then you incur the cost of that. But, you know, if you recall, we tried to clean this intersection up at Old Zion Cemetery and Lee Bird, but we ran into a huge legal issue with the property behind the gas station that we
Right,
could
right.
not
No, I
produce a
remember.
deed.
Okay.
It was very costly, and we would have to end up doing eminent domain on that
Yeah.
property as well to take it, and that was not the wishes of the council at that time.
To me, it seems fairly clear that the city would prefer to have something there that's serving the community versus an abandoned house. And it's been abandoned several years now. So that part, I think, is sort of a no-brainer. But a good input. See where we go from there?
Okay, so I guess at this point in time, I need to make a motion to annex the property in,
It's Thursday night.
No.
oh, Thursday night.
We just had our public comment.
Sorry.
We're just answering questions. That's okay.
I'm ready for it to go. Okay. So,
Public feedback. And you can talk about either the annexation or the rezone, but specifically the rezone. Okay? Do we have anyone that would like to give us some public impact and input? Good. We got somebody besides Danny Ford. No. Since you sit up front. Yes, sir, if you would.
One question. I want as much time as that gentleman had,
Microphone.
That was 2 minutes.
because I like to.
You get 5 minutes. You get 5 minutes.
That's about 2 minutes.
I'm on the fence now, I understand. I gotta, before time starts, I gotta ask a question of Tim.
No, it starts now.
Tim.
starts
The
now.
moment you get up there, it starts.
Right there, isn't that right there?
Tick tock,
That's 3?
tick tock.
Holy mackerel, Andy. Okay, my name is Danny Ford, Lake Hodges Landing. Sat where they sat last year. And thank you, Melanie, because you said everything that we need to say tonight. First of all, you've got the Lee Bird Road in Ozine, which is a travesty. You've got the car wash and Popeyes, that's one. I was just informed by Tim, not one entrance and exit, but 3. 3 on Old Zion. So that's 5. Go down to Trinity Prep, that's 6. Go to our subdivision, that's 7, 8. Go to the high school, that's 9. Go to 300-plus cottages, that's 10. 300 cottages going to dump on to Old Zion. And you can't tell me they're going to go to 78. They're going to come Old Zion. In the afternoons, when Trinity lets out of school, it's backed up, way up toward Wendell Geiger's house. And only a 40-foot setback? That's pretty close. Plus, is there going to be anything there to hide the dumpsters and the wash pails and everything that's going up and down that residential street? I mean, hey, we got to have some help. Y'all know it's a problem. All 6 of you, 7 of you know it's a problem. And I understand it. I don't think anybody here is here to oppose the rezoning. That's not a problem with me. I'm here to oppose the traffic. Tractor trailers coming in off of turning right onto Lee Bird, turning right into there. You know what they do at every curve they turn on? They tear them up. And that's what's going to happen. I mean, I don't know how you get around all of this. I don't know. But something has to be done. I mean, Tim just showed me 2 more. That's 3 entrances and exits. Am I correct, sir? Wouldn't that be something? Can y'all imagine what that would be? I mean, and he's saying things everybody wants to hear. It can be arrested. He's going to put a steakhouse there. Wait a minute. Once it's on commercial, it can go anything that he wants to put there. So those words out of his mouth, it's just words out of his mouth. They don't mean a thing.
That's why I was asking, can we do the condition of zoning on certain businesses?
That's right. You can put anything in there you want to. And steakhouse makes everybody's eyes get big, but it may not be a steakhouse. He can say that all day long, but it may not happen. Y'all know it as well as I do. My 5 minutes up? No, you got 2 more. Oh, I got 2 more minutes? Oh, my Lord. Well, I may, in the street alone, I've been on to Danny for years to pave that street. Maybe it'll happen after all this happens. I don't know. You got pine trees, the roots are in the road. Everybody knows that. Just take them down. It's on the right of way. I don't know what else to say. I think I've preached enough. Y'all all know the situation that we got there. I myself go by Brandon's house. I either go Bob Wood or Zion Wood. I look up there, and if there's a car up there, I turn right. And that's what's going to happen. Everybody's going to be turning right. And I understand what happened at Lee Burden and Old Zion because I was on the council at the time, and we can't, we don't know where the deed's at to the property that we think we own to put that street in there. So, that being said, I'm going to turn it over to somebody else. Thank you for listening.
Can we
Can I
ask
ask a
the,
follow-up question? Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, go.
can we ask
Jeff?
the speaker for the group about the back of the buildings to see what their plans are?
Jeff,
Jeff,
I think that'd be
please.
you, and you'll be right behind it.
The plans in what respect? I'm sorry.
How the back of the buildings are gonna look and about hiding the dumpsters, stuff like that. Because, a lot of us that live on the backside, we don't want to see the,
Right,
you
right.
know, that
Yeah,
kind of
and I'm sure the owners would be open to some sort of landscaping design. And if you wanted to restrict the number of curb cuts to, 2 or 1, they proposed 3 just to show multiple access points. Most roads aren't restricted in this form or fashion, but, we would be amenable to considering reduction of the number of curb cuts. And if you'd like to, require evergreen trees in the landscape strip, typically most communities, if you're looking at landscape ordinance, you're required like a 10-foot or 15-foot landscape strip. If you want to require evergreens every 10 feet, like a Leland cypress or whatever, to screen that area, that's very typical. We'd be happy to do that.
okay. Any other questions on that?
Jeff?
Yes, ma'am.
The drawing that's here, does it only show 2 in it, 1 in and 1 out on the front, and 1 in and 1 out on the Old Zion?
Well, the original one showed an entrance off 78 and then 1 entrance off Zion.
Right.
We revised that to show 3. He wasn't sure how many he wants, and we really don't want to be limited to a number, but I understand the concern. And, we would consider
But
limiting
we
number.
don't have the drawing with the 3.
I sent
We
it-
only have it with the
Somebody
2, I
has it.
think.
Somebody has it here. Mr. Ford,
I was
I
just
think, has
curious
it.
what it looked like.
Yes, I sent it to Tim, but I think Mr. Ford has it.
I may not have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I see they have them.
Where's the 3rd?
1, 2, 3.
If I understand correct, Tim, the
Tim
council's
drew it.
not committed to
I was just curious.
allowing 3 curb cuts, are they?
That would be at y'all's discretion.
Well, I know it's the council's decision. I mean, whether if they request 3 and we give 1, or whatever council decides to do.
And I never mentioned a steakhouse. That'd be nice, but we would like a nice restaurant there, but, a nice restaurant is, yeah.
Well, but I
understand.
mean,
Well, let me ask you, because this is, I understand, a $10 million project. A person doesn't come to a town and going to build a $10 million project unless they have some idea of what's going in there. What have you already got for anchors for this?
I'm not at liberty to discuss that right now. I'm sorry. Yeah, I know the property is around $2 million. There's going to be a couple million to develop it, and then they're working on tenants right now.
well, and Skip, to your point about whether we ask for 3 or 2, I mean, I'm not qualified to say that 2 would be better than 3 and what it might cause if we did, I mean, then you might have cars all the way back in and only one place to get in and out, so I don't know.
Well,
Well, I
typically.
believe the Popeyes and the car wash both have 1 curb cut.
Yes, they share their share of the curb
And I
cut.
know Hobby Lobby's only got 1 curb cut in the back of it.
And
Okay. hang on to that thought, because you'll get your opportunity.
Yeah, everybody. Just to expand on that, this is conceptual. Obviously, it hasn't been fully engineered. Once the engineers look at this, they will look, obviously how to access the dumpster, how to get in and out behind the building. This is very conceptual, clearly.
Okay.
That's their retention.
Any other questions of Jeff at this time? Okay, sir. Appreciate your patience.
No problem. My name's Chip Jones, and I live over in Lake Hodges. I've been in this city for 21 years now, and I keep looking up there at that map at Old Zion, and I travel that road every day. And to be quite honest with you, obviously a lot of people on this council don't do it, because even when you got a school bus and you get down past, say, like where they're at right now, it's pretty tough to be able to get by, say, like a school bus, because that road is not wide enough. And if you go down a little bit further, past the apartments, you're going to see the cemetery, and then you're going to see that probably one of the more prominent neighborhoods that we've got here in Loganville. And what I'm thinking right now, from what we're looking at right now, where's my homeowner's value going to go? I believe in progress, but are you going to rip the progress from, say, like from my home? I mean, y'all can do whatever you want, but I don't think it's quite fair to the homeowners and the people that have been having to pay, say, like the taxes that we have for the city taxes for umpteen years. And after all, the way I look at it, would you want that in your backyard? Would you want to have to deal with that every day? It's already a travesty of what you have to do, because like Danny said, you get down there and you see where the road is right there at Old Zion and Lee Byrd, you're going to cut back through the other subdivision, so that way you can go by the school and find a way to get out, because nobody wants to get stuck there, and you do get stuck. But then again, then you get into, say, like all the other 300 cluster homes are going to be put down there. We're going to have just one massive traffic jam. And do you want a massive traffic jam in your backyard? I mean, that's the way I'm looking at it right now. I think that we need to really think about this and what we're doing to, say, like the citizens. That's all mine.
Very good. Yes, sir. Come on up.
Hey, good evening. My name is Chris Lippert. I'm from Laurel Mist. I'm actually here on the other rezoning and annexation, but this is very interesting because not only is the high school there, but you go down Lee Byrd, there's also elementary school. And I've got kids at both places. And I've got a 17-year-old that drives from Loganville High School. I'm probably more scared for her to drive home than I am probably anywhere else, because she has to go through that mess. And, a couple of points. It's, I think Brandon, you made saying that, hey, like it's not okay to have to cut through a shopping center to avoid traffic. That's not okay. His shopping center is not going to be designed to take traffic from a road that, is overflowing or is backed up and go through the shopping. That's how accidents happen. When you have people trying to cut through. I mean, the little gas station up there with the ices, people cut through there all the time, right? Somebody recommended, saying that, hey, you can limit the weight to, or do only buses. People are not going to follow that unless you've got Loganville PD sitting there. The tractor trailers will come down there, they'll unload, and then for the people that live there, some of the same issues that I'll bring up when we get to the Laurel Mist issue is that, when Breda moved in the other side of Laurel Mist, this city council approved it, or, maybe not you guys, but the city council of Loganville approved it. And they also said, with that approval, you have to put evergreens between Laurel Mist and the Breda property. There's no evergreens. If you go into Laurel Mist right now and you look towards Breda, all you see is the big, bright parking lot lights, okay? Now, luckily, I don't live on that end, but my neighbors do, and that's who I'm representing, but we'll get to that in a minute. So I want you guys to think of the schools, and I want you guys to figure out how we can solve the traffic issue. Whether you dump that shopping center onto, that doesn't resolve it. So let's talk about the traffic issue. And then the only other thing that I had is that, you said the business was already there. Well, today will have to be the day where the city council and the planning department plans responsible development. So we don't run into issues where we want to put a center there because the business is there, the retail is there, but yet we have nowhere to guide the traffic because over the years, we didn't make responsible decisions on where a road is, where we can expand, where we should put a detour property, whatever it may be. Okay, so, but thank you, guys.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Danny, can we put a note somewhere to have, check the backside of Breda to make sure that those are there per, can you check that? Thanks.
Hi, my name is Ron Moore. I live in Lake Hodges Landing as well. I've been there since 2004. I'm going to touch on a lot of points that have already been brought up, but these are concerns that I have personally. Condition of Old Zion, it's narrow. School buses down through there. I've seen mailboxes damaged along Old Zion where people have clipped them, probably with a mirror or something, trying to get around school buses and some of the truck traffic that's coming in down for the development. We talk about Trinity. In the afternoons, people trying to get into Trinity to pick up their students. They back up on Old Zion and block the lane. Sometimes both lanes going both ways, trying to turn in there. The city needs to work with Old Zion to have them come up with a better traffic pattern into their schools so that they don't back up on the public streets. Today, you either line up and wait your turn for their children to be picked up so you can get down Old Zion, or you jump out in the other lane of traffic and hope you don't meet somebody coming the other way. Truck traffic coming in. Again, the backside of those buildings is where the deliveries are going to be made. So you're going to have all the trucks coming in on the backside there. Today, it's not uncommon to turn onto Old Zion and find a truck parked on Old Zion while they run in and grab a chicken leg for their lunch. I've run into that several times. The apartments, already touched on that, the additional traffic that the apartments are going to bring on Old Zion, that's already been approved and is under development, under construction today, so that's a done deal. Rezoning for the retail, and you got the delivery trucks coming in there. The intersection up at Lee Bird and Old Zion is beyond a horrendous mess. I agree. People do cut through the subdivision there trying to get in and out. I know the city had tried to address that, and I'm aware of some of the issues they ran into. Not able to go back and find the proof that the city owns that property there. If you go back and pull up an old street map prior to 78 being widened to 4 lanes, you're going to see that Old Zion went through there out onto 78. So you're going to have to go back to the early 80s, 82, 83, something like that, and you'll see that Old Zion went through there. Now, the city has let that property owner use that property. There's a business on that property with a business license issued and has an address on it. So now he's probably can claim eminent domain because he's maintained that property and is using that property. So that's hindsight now, but again, you have to look forward a little bit, not look at just today, but look at the future as you make some of these decisions and try not to box yourself in. Personally, you know, like I said, my wife is ready to move. Okay, I'll be honest about it. She's fed up with the intersection, the traffic, and its last development's kind of the straw that's breaking the camel's back. And come next election, depending on the city's actions and what they do with Old Zion to try and improve it, it's going to determine where I vote, and the incumbents won't be the ones I'm voting for.
Thank you. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Ed Beschel. I also live in Lake Hodges. I want to thank you for the opportunity to voice my concerns. Again, my concerns are going to be very similar to what's been voiced already. Melanie, I appreciate you bringing up the concern about the traffic. Again, voicing a lot of those feelings and those the feedback that you've already received from the community. Again, like Chip said, concerned about the property value and what that impact, but once you get those new cottages dumping onto Old Zion, and really the current state of that traffic right there at Old Zion and Lee Bird. That is, for me, one of my company's big cultural beliefs is safety first, and that is just a nightmare going through that intersection. And Mr. Whitfield, you mentioned the traffic diverting through the business parking lot. Again, that's not a safety that's not a safety option. And think about it, that's just going to put more traffic in front of your house and through your neighborhood. Again, I want development in Loganville. I want us to be progressive. I want us to have things, but we really have to make a conscious effort. Is this the right thing for us? If that's my wife, tell her I'll be home in a few. Is this the right thing for us to do now? Is it the right thing for that particular intersection when we don't have an option? As Danny said, we don't have an option now to fix it, to really make it better. We can widen Lee Bird, which is definitely necessary, but is that going to alleviate that backup there at Trinity? Is it going to alleviate the backup there at that stop sign, people trying to make a left, trying to get their lunch into Popeyes or get their car washed? And we're just putting more and more and more cars. And as the gentleman mentioned, we've got high school kids there. We've got 16, 17-year-old kids driving through there that don't have the experience that we do in dealing with that kind of traffic, in passing those type of trucks, the buses, the dump trucks, all those different vehicles that are now going to be coming through there. And I'd hate to see it when I pull down that street and there's an ambulance there with a kid from the high school. So again, please think this through. I understand how it's zoned and what the plans are. I appreciate what you've said, but it is going to impact our community greatly and not for the positive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. I'm Jennifer Cassidy. I live in Laurel Mist. My house actually backs up to 81. I wasn't prepared to speak, so bear with me for a second. But my concern is the fact that they're going to put retail stores up behind my house. Riffraff, noise, traffic. Is that not what they're planning on doing?
Well,
This is,
Well, I apologize. So this is R22015, which is what Chris talked about. Oh, okay, so do I need to wait and sit down?
that's okay.
Please.
That's okay.
yeah.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm Michael Baker. I was born and raised in Loganville, and I moved to the city about 1.5 years ago. And I live at 256 Ozine Cemetery. I'm about four houses down from Mr. Geiger. I hope he's doing well. I don't know how his health is, but I know he's had some problems. But anyway, I sit in my office, which is in front of my house, and I watch people zip up and down that road. If the police force of Loganville will sit there one day a month, they'll get their quota and much more. Well, if you don't have a quota, just please sit there and catch some of them so they don't kill a kid. That'd be great. But anyway, that road is not built. I'm going to echo a lot of what Mr. Ford and the rest of them have said, what Melanie said, and I think she represents a lot of what we are concerned about on this particular zoning issue. I like progress. Believe me, after 60 years, I've seen a lot of changes in Loganville. Most of it good, some of it not so good. But when you dump more traffic on a residential road, like everybody else has said, you're asking for trouble. They've got to go all the way down and then hit Bay Creek. That's another intersection, which I know it's not in the city, but is a mess, left or right, most of the day. But the road is just not set up for any more traffic to be dumped on it. And y'all need to straighten that out before you approve developments like this. Again, the two schools both have the back entrances. I don't have kids in school anymore, but the parents that do should be concerned. The other thing that concerned me tonight, and I hope this is not the way it works here with the city, is we already had a member ready to make a motion and hadn't heard the public. That's concerning to me. I appreciate your time.
I'm Kristen Hires. I'm also in Lake Hodges Landing. And my question for you is, you continue to say yes to all the development in that area, but nothing has been talked about as far as what can the DOT do to, you're putting all of this right here on small two-lane roads that aren't even wide enough for buses to go through. I walk my dog over there, and I have to literally, I won't walk on the sidewalk going down that street. I go in through my neighborhood to make sure, because someone hits that curb, they're going 70 miles an hour down that street. They hit that curb wrong, they're up on it, I'm dead. So now you just keep saying, you said yes to the Popeyes, you said yes to the car wash. At some point, if you guys wanted to develop that corner, why wasn't it talked about, like, put those parcels together, figure out a new way to get in and out? But you can't continue to bring progress, but then not redevelop the roads. We can't have an old country feel with our two-lane roads that are too small, but then want a big commercial. I am all for you doing something there. Do something good, please, for God's sakes, because we keep getting new stuff and it's nothing anybody wants. So put something in, great, but figure something out to fix that road. You can't handle what you have now, and now you're just going to add a whole bunch more. So if you come back with a plan that says, hey, we want to put this development here, it's going to be great, people can walk to it, whatever. Do something for the neighborhoods and the people who actually live there. Great, if we could walk over and eat and walk back, that'd be wonderful. But you can't just keep building around it and then hope that somehow you're not going to have a problem, because what your problem's going to be is with safety. It's not going to be traffic. I don't care if I sit in traffic. If I sit in traffic, fine, whatever. But coming out that left right now, you're taking your life in your hands. It's like you just have to hope that you can go left, and someone's not going to plow you either way. So either you're going to have a bunch of people getting hurt and a bunch of accidents, and then we're all going to do counts of that and come back to you and say, well, what is your responsibility for all of this when you continued to say yes, but you didn't make the road safe? So someone from DOT should be here. Someone should be figuring out a lot of roads in the city of Loganville, a lot of intersections that don't work. And if that means you have to buy out houses or do things to fix the roads and widen them, then we do it all the time. That's what I did for the DOT in Gwinnett County. And we had to displace people sometimes. And we paid them fair market value. And we did all kinds of things to get the roads safe. But you can't have both. You can't have progress but not get your infrastructure set up for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, before you go up, just a second, we had a question from one of the council members to, okay, you can wait, okay, come on up, I'm sorry.
Good evening. My name's Jimmy Barge. I live at 712 Willhaven Court in Lake Hodges Landing. I've lived there since 2007. Very familiar with these patterns on Lake Hodges Landing. And I was going to ask first if someone could put up the site plan for the development, the proposed site plan, so that this plan right here, somebody, can that go up?
Hold on, trying to do it now. You got it, Kyle?
Yeah. And you can see in the back building, they're talking about the three entrances. I see on this site plan, it's only showing one. To me, if there's not a dedicated right-of-way road that connects Highway 78 to Old Zion Cemetery, it would have to be a right-in, right-out on Highway 78 with a full, turning on Old Zion in some way, so that there is a street there to help break up the traffic patterns, like the other council members said, that there could be potentially a way that people could turn and access Highway 78 without going all the way up to Lee Bird. That this site plan, I practice as a civil engineer, site design civil engineer, and I'm looking at this site plan, and this is a real train wreck of a site plan. There is no flow through there. How in the world are trucks going to go in that little bitty strip behind that, the building? I don't see that. I've wondered about whether there could be a roundabout, at Old Zion and Lee Bird. But if y'all have not solved that, and you can't, put a red light there to make that intersection safe, I don't think the DOT would allow it because it's too close to 78. So you have a lot of real stuck problems with the infrastructure. So they're trying to put so much development onto a site that the infrastructure simply does not support it. So I think you would have to deny this application if you have not really solved the traffic problems. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Gus.
Good evening. I appreciate you allowing me to come up and speak, and I'm actually not here for this case, but listening to all these concerned citizens. My name's Danny Maloney, and I live at 395 Toller Drive. Been a resident here for going on 20 years. And what it sounds like I'm seeing and visualizing today is this is progress without preparation. Yes, it is good to progress in our community, but if the preparation isn't there, what's it going to do? That intersection is a horrible nightmare, and I travel it through my business working, installing irrigation systems, fixing irrigation systems. When I come back from Winder, I do come Lee Bird Road, and we'll get to that problem next. But when the school buses are coming out, there's kids involved. I don't want this to sit on the city council and the mayor's shoulders when somebody comes through there with an 18-wheeler trying to turn down Old Zion Road and hits a bus. So let's think about preparing for our progress. Prepare that road so that this can progress to where we can get usable land for businesses. And it's not y'all's fault. I don't blame y'all. There was a lot of city council members here prior to you who were voted in that could have had this taken care of. We didn't expect this progress. But now that we are progressing, let's think about the preparation before we just go ahead and annex and submit something that's going to end up either taking a life or causing nightmare traffic jams, which is already occurring. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Mayor, can I just sit right here and ask one more question?
Oh, does he have any time left?
Is that a microphone?
I don't have, well, I do have some. I submit my time. Question was asked, and I think you brought up an answer, Danny, but I didn't understand it. As far as tractor trailers on Lee Bird and their weight limit, you said so far school buses have a weight limit and they're allowed to travel on Lee Bird, correct? Now, I don't know what the weight limit is for a school bus, but I'm sure it's way less than a tractor trailer.
Yes, Lee Bird is restricted to some trucks.
Okay. So you'd have to do something to amend that, right?
Amend what?
The restriction on Lee Bird for trucks.
It's already there. There isn't restrictions already in place on Lee Bird, I believe.
So if they build this proposed shopping center, they couldn't put a truck couldn't come through there, correct?
If the
Down Lee
city
Bird?
council wanted to limit that, then yes, but that's something they would have to say, the no trucks, but you gotta be able to let some trucks for deliveries, depending, but you know, we can limit to the length, I believe, but that's something we'll have to check on with our engineers.
Okay.
Sir, you're gonna have to go there because we get complaints about people not hearing.
Time left? Okay.
Now, if there's already a restriction on Lee Bird for trucks, then that extends all the way to Highway 78, so they couldn't turn off 78 onto Lee Bird to get onto Old Zion to make deliveries to the back of that development. If that's enforced, that would then make the developers of the site plan allow for that off of 78. The truck traffic would have to come off 78, not off Lee Bird, off Old Zion. So that would be something I would ask the council to consider and talk to the developer about and enforce it.
Okay. I think that's everyone so far. Everybody okay with that? Okay, Linda, you want to go to the next one?
I could ask.
Oh, yeah, we do have a follow-up. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Mr. Timler, may I have a couple of questions with you, please, sir? Why are you looking to annex into the city?
Well, I mean, obviously, the infrastructure's already there. Sewer and water's already there. It's in the city, so it makes sense from an infrastructure standpoint and also from a service delivery standpoint. State law encourages annexation of islands primarily you can do it unilaterally without even our request.
Right.
And so it just makes sense from a number of areas. The tax base obviously will go up from the city about 1,600% versus what it's currently assessed at. So your tax base will increase tremendously, but your service base, in theory, will not, because you've already got the infrastructure in place and the traffic is already there. I keep hearing traffic's already there, right? I mean, somebody said 70 miles an hour. Traffic's already there. School problem is already there. Trinity's problem and their access is already there. There's 4 businesses that access Mount Zion, and so I know some people think it's a residential road, but that left a long time ago with Popeyes, car wash. I mean, all these other businesses are already on there. So if you want to suffocate this business, you require right in, right out, and no access on Mount Zion. Then you'll ensure that we don't have successful businesses there.
Well, my follow-up question to that is, should you not be successful in this annexation, what's your plan B? Are you going to go to the county?
We haven't talked about that. It's already zoned partially commercial. I'm not even sure where the zoning line is. So in theory, we could already do some commercial there.
Right.
It's obviously not a good agricultural piece, nor is it a good residential piece. So yeah, we would have to figure out what our next step would be, and that would probably obviously go to the county and do something there without your control. Right now, you have the option to hopefully control this.
So I just want to, as unpalatable as it may be for some people, I want to remind the council of the June 2020 decision that was made about Skyland Drive. And this is the plumber that wanted to go in and put, change the backyard and annex into the city, switch to CH. 2 of us voted for it, the other 4 voted against it. He went right to the county in Gwinnett, built exactly what he wanted, they got all the tax revenue, and we got 0 control. So I just want to, that is one of the issues with this case, just to keep in mind, one way or the other, however you vote, is that Mr. Timler and his client and their company can turn right around and go to the county, and we have 0 control. We can't get anything that we want for the city, nothing on the in and out, nothing on the change, nothing on how to deal with Old Zion. Then we're dealing with the county, and they get exactly what they want, theoretically, without any input from us. So I just wanted to bring that up and find out what your future plans were. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's happened before. Tim, could you explain to council members, just for Thursday, what is the state requirement as we view traffic as far as new development?
You can't use it as the only reason. It can be calculated in with your determinations, but it cannot be the only reason for denial.
And with the state's direction to the cities and counties, anything is going to bring traffic.
Correct.
That you put in. And when we get that, we don't want to have unnecessary burden. Maybe we've got some work to do, but council will have to decide come Thursday night. And then I think the way the state listed is traffic can be a consideration, but not a reason for rejection.
Correct.
Does that about sum it up?
We ready?
Anything else?
Next cases we have on the agenda it's actually 4 cases, but they're combined, going to be combined into one piece of property. So I'm going to read them all in under one reading, and then we will have the applicant and open it up for the floor. Next case is annexation A22-012. The applicant is Mark Myers. The property owner is Richard and Rodney Smith. Parcel number is CO160006. Present zoning is A2. The address is 4706 Highway 81 in Walton County. It's 2.5 acres. Proposed development is retail shops with road alignment and out parcels. The Planning Commission's recommendation was to approve the annexation. The rezone for that annexation is R22-013. The applicant is Mark Myers. The property owner is Richard and Rodney Smith. Parcel number is CO160006. Present zoning is A2. The requested zoning is CH. The address is 4706 Highway 81 in Walton County. It's 2.5 acres, with the proposed development being retail shops with road alignment and out parcels. The Planning Commission recommended approval with conditions to the zoning as R44. The next case is annexation A22014. The applicant is Mark Myers. Property owner is Peggy Bird and Donald Minsk. The parcel number is CO160006A00. Present zoning is A1. The address is 4746 Highway 81 in Walton County. It's 10.0 acres. Proposed development is retail shops with road alignment and out parcels. The Planning Commission recommended approval of the annexation. The rezone for the annexation is R22-015. The applicant is Mark Myers. Property owner is Peggy Bird and Donald Minsk. Parcel number is CO160006A00. Present zoning is A1. The requested zoning is CH. The address is 4764 Highway 81 in Walton County. It's 10.0 acres. The proposed development is retail shops with road alignment and out parcels. The Planning Commission recommend approval with conditions of zoning of R44. And the applicant is here if y'all have any questions.
Tim, is the address 4764 or 4746?
4746.
Okay, thank you.
On the last one, yes. The first one is 4706.
Okay. Does anybody on the council have questions for Tim?
She asked for questions for Tim. My questions are for Mark.
First of all, Merry Christmas. Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you for taking time to hear this. Miss Peggy Bird called me about marketing her property, and she doesn't have any plans on moving. She's going to live right where she is, and she's going to be next door to whatever goes here. And she said, I don't want apartment buildings. I don't want multifamily. She said that they had it under contract for residential a few years back. That came before the city council and it was voted down. She says, I guess they want business of some kind there. So that's what I tried to market it for businesses. And I got someone very interested in the property. We have it under contract. And I told them that there was a certain amount of people that, I guess, let's just say, is not really pro-business or it's not going to be just as easy as it is maybe a lot of places to come in, because there's people who seem to have a lot of opposition. So I said, what are you willing to do? Well, we have a traffic study, which although you guys are probably already familiar, the city paid for a traffic study, your tax dollars, for them, an independent traffic study, that they recommended the intersection of Rock Road and be realigned with Lee Bird Road. And they identified this as a problem intersection, and they actually recommended that a light or a roundabout be put there. Well, they actually recommended that there be a light down at Rock Road, and then possibly a roundabout or something at Lee. That was cost prohibitive. But when I spoke with this purchaser, he said, well, you know, what can I do? And I said, well, I'll tell you what would be easier for me probably is if you would donate the property, the land, do the engineering, pave the road, and then give it to the city. Maybe $1.5 million. I said, if we did that, that might make it to where it would be an easy decision, because it's something that has already been recommended by the traffic study, and there was also a traffic study done, a comprehensive study by the Walton County that identified that same problem, same intersection as a problem. According to this traffic study, during a 5-year history, crash history, there were 197 accidents. That's just at Lee Bird Road and Highway 81. Well, right now, and I have some copies of this if some of you other guys want to see it, the Georgia Department of Transportation has proposed for Highway 81 and Ozora Road to have a roundabout. And what they've put is the crash data from the years 2015, 2019 showed that this intersection experienced a total of 90 crashes. That's 90. Well, we just found out during a 5-year period there was 197 crashes at Lee Bird, in addition to the 50-something crashes that was at Rock Road. So, you know, I actually called the DOT. I said, why is Ozora Road a priority when there's 107 more accidents at Lee Bird? Nobody seemed to have an answer. I've asked that question several times, but if that's going to be the solution, it says, and this is where they're having the public hearing for that, it says, without this project, the frequency and severity of crashes would not be addressed. Okay, so I've got the printout of the traffic study, the notes from the traffic study done for the city of Loganville. I have the printout from the Department of Transportation, where they're recommending that there be a traffic light or a roundabout. And then I've got actually from the U.S. Department of Transportation, their records say that according to their studies, a roundabout is an effective safe traffic tool. Specifically, they found that the fatalities were prevented up to 90% of the time, saving 90% of the lives. Injury crashes were prevented 76% of the time. It says that they can enhance the flow of traffic with less stop and go. Okay? This guy is willing to pay for and give this $1 million plus. I don't know how often people come up here and say, here's $1.5 million for a project that you guys already identified, that you already wanted to do, and I'm going to pay for it. So, I mean, I think it's what everybody was saying on the other issue over here. It was safety. Safety comes first. Safety is the main thing. Well, that's what you go on down to the end of Lee Bird Road, it's safety. If you can prevent 90% of fatalities, to me, this is a no-brainer.
Well, you said that they said a roundabout, and you're not proposing a roundabout. But first of all, before we even get any further than that, I want to make everybody know that I personally, because this sounds like a tit for tat, if we give you a road, you shouldn't deny our zoning. And that's what that feels like this is, that this is a tit for tat. We're going to give you a road. In exchange, we expect you to zone us commercial. And I want everybody to know that my priority is the people that live around there that will be affected by this. And you're not talking about a roundabout, you're talking about a street which is going to realign Rock Road with Lee Bird and GDOT. We're not even on the map for a red light or a roundabout or anything there. Tim, you said in the planning and zoning meeting that you weren't aware of anything that was on the books to be happening there. Is that correct?
What I stated was, we've had meetings with GDOT, and it was my understanding that GDOT has not said whether they were going to do a roundabout or a red light.
How long, because we've had, for a point of reference, Tuck Road and Sharon Church. That's a dangerous area. They were proposing a roundabout there.
Right.
How many years has that been?
I don't know. I'm not usually in the meetings with GDOT.
Right, so I'm just asking, so we could go forward with this.
My information comes from Mr. Roberts and
We
and
could
the
go
people that
forward with
are in
this,
the
build a
meetings.
road, and wish for a roundabout. How many years has that been?
I've been working on it since I've been city manager. The Highway 20 project's been discussed, I believe, since the late 90s, early to mid-90s. I will say that this intersection has been brought up numerous times with myself and District 1. They have not given us a concrete answer on if they prefer a roundabout or a red light. They are leaning towards a roundabout. We have spent money on this intersection for a proposal back in 2018, 19, don't hold me to that, but it was sometime back. Our priorities have shifted once we've heard about the 20 project coming sooner than later. So we only have a set amount of money that we can spend. So I think roundabout, in my opinion, is number 3 right now, Lee Bird and Rock Road. But it is true that we would get a road out of this, which is, to me, a big bonus. Because without it, you'd either have to buy it or condemn it to realign that. So, but without that road, you would not get a red light or a roundabout with GDOT. They want to realign Rock Road and Lee Bird. But it is on their radar, but they have not issued what's called a PI number. But like I said, we have conversations with them a good bit, but we only have so much money to spend towards transportation. So right now, my priority as city manager is FESCO and Highway 20. But like, I've had several discussions with this developer, and he said he would build it, and when the money came available, when we had time to put a red light or roundabout, then that road's already there, and it would be built to our standards. So that is true. Everything you said is true about them offering a road to the city for that.
So, can I ask, Mr. Myers, so your description in this is retail shops with road alignment. I mean, as we're looking at this, it's not like you're trading it, but would you consider a condition to this application that we put upon it, that it will have a road alignment?
I actually would want you to. Would you make the motion? I'd like you to say that this is conditioned upon this road being realigned. Because, I don't want somebody to promise me something and then me get up here and say something that not come to pass. But the other thing that we've got to think about, the recommendation from the planning and zoning was for this to be zoned residential. And if I do, if it's zoned residential and they build homes over there, probably you're talking $500,000 to $600,000 homes. Wouldn't that be nice? What's going to happen? They go in and build those $600,000 homes. Then the DOT comes out and says, there's been enough people killed here, now we got to do something. Let's buy 5 of these $600,000 homes. We'll pay these people, but we don't have enough money for that. If we go through, I'm not sure that the planning and development really thought this all the way through when they made that recommendation, because it was turned down one time before. The time to fix the problem was when we have somebody who's saying, I'm willing to give the city over $1 million. And I know there's been conversations with DOT. I've been in on some of the conversations. We've got an engineer here who has talked with the Department of Transportation. He's going to share some information with us. But there would be no reason for it to be on their radar if we don't have You know, if you had the money and the city had voted, say, hey, we're gonna realign these roads, then you can go to the DOT and it will get assigned a number. There's nobody that can tell you for sure what the future holds, but this is much more likely to get us either a roundabout or a traffic light than just waiting to see what happens.
Well,
Go ahead, Bill.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So also to clarify a little bit, so the 20 project is what's called a roadway widening project. It's an improvement that takes a lot of right-of-way. We're adding multiple lanes, that type of thing. So yes, that's taking a long time. But the DOT has what's called safety projects where they look at the intersection and they don't go into it and say this is going to be a roundabout. They don't look at it and say this is going to be a signalized. They have to look at it and say we have to do a study. We have to work through the process. But if you want to jump forward a little bit, you go to those typical roundabout projects. Those are typically on the order of like $3 million or so, $3 to $4 million a piece just for a roundabout. So, you know, whatever this turns out to be, however it goes, just realize that, and if it got programmed by the DOT, they have to put it in their pipeline, and it would take some time. But if this road was realigned as we had desired to start with, this is something we've been talking about for a couple of years now. As far as plans, you know, that's almost a quarter to half of what that cost would be. So that's a good opportunity for us. We'll just have to keep that in mind.
Well, if you look at our land use map, there's absolutely no commercial anywhere near there. It's not like the other project we just talked that's surrounded by it. So you're going to go into these neighborhoods in these areas, and I know you alluded to the fact that there's a Sprouts or some sort of something like that you're going to put there. And I'm looking at the map here. Are you going to put developments, should this pass, there's a road right through there. Are there going to be developments on each side of that road?
Yes, I think it's going to be, and like I say, I'm not going to stand up here and tell you there's a Longhorns or a Red Lobster going in there. I don't know. I don't have anything under contract. I've talked with several different companies. I could see maybe a daycare, a grocery store, some kind of restaurant. I'm not promising any name brand, but you know, I was doing the marketing at Huntington Ridge through those 4 phases. I remember when they proposed building Publix shopping center. We had a meeting like this, and probably 200 to 300 people came out from Huntington Ridge and said, we don't want Publix. We don't want Publix. Stop Publix. Stop Publix. Well, Publix passed, and then some of those people that were at the meeting were in there getting a gallon of milk and buying groceries. And I said, isn't it convenient to have this grocery store less than 5 minutes? So if I lived in Laurel Mist, I would be wanting a grocery store there. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's what, I know I don't live there, but I mean, I would want it, because anybody that lives on that side of Highway 81, they don't have to go to Loganville. They don't have to go up Lee Bird Road. They don't have to go down Highway 81 and go to Kroger. They could do their shopping right there. I mean, that's going to be a matter of personal preferences. You know?
How do they propose to negate the light pollution, the noise pollution, fuel trucks, dump trucks, delivery trucks that are in, like I said, here at this other project, they're surrounded by commercial. You're going into a section that has nothing. You have all these people that did buy these $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 homes, and they've now got to have lights 24 hours a day. They're going to have noise pollution. They're going to have all the garbage that is created by that blowing into their neighborhood. They're going to have to listen to the fuel trucks being delivered to your gas station, to the delivery trucks dropping off, the garbage trucks picking up the dumpsters. How are you going to not encroach on their rights?
There's a green
have a
space.
home that
There's
they
a green
bought.
space already there. Just going to separate them. The green space is already in place.
Hang on, I don't know why I don't know why it's so angry, but my house is showing here, and last night, I don't know if anybody's near 81, but the traffic on 81 is loud. There are trucks and bikes, and I mean, I can't imagine it would be any worse right now than it is when I'm sitting on my back porch, because my house is right here, listening to 81. But I will tell you, last night when I went outside to grill some chicken, that there was a great horned owl in the pine tree right behind me. So, because I heard it. So, I cannot imagine an increase in noise and light pollution because 81 is just loud. It's so loud. I mean, it's just loud. I mean, so I don't.
Well, you know, if the Georgia DOT looked at Ozor Road and said that there were 90 crashes there, and they made that a priority, and they're making this a recommendation, how could they look at, you almost double the amount when you add Rock Road and Lee Road together, and not take that, make that a priority? I mean, I don't know what criteria they have, but that would have to get moved up on the list quickly.
Bill, is it fair to say that GDOT has a heck of a lot of work to do in a lot of areas? And until something is a probability of coming, it's not going to be addressed. Is that a fair statement?
So I can't answer why it's not on the list at this point.
I understand.
You know, they go through a criteria and look for projects all the time. I think that it is an opportunity for us to get it there and get it moved up.
But is it fair to say normally, not saying this project or any other project, but normally, is it fair to say that things get done when they see growth come into an area?
I would say that's fair.
I don't know. It seems what I see anyway.
And if they know we're going to do it, you know, they don't have to move the road tomorrow. This could be something they do 2 or 3 years from now and coordinate it with DOT. I mean, it doesn't have to be, the road doesn't have to be aligned next week or as soon as they close on the property. He's willing to work with the DOT and the city to make that work out. And if you got any other questions, we have someone here, an engineer, that can share some information.
My name is John Edge. I work with A&R Engineering, traffic engineering consultants, working with Mark on this project. And one quick thing I want to chime in is, you know, if Rock Road does get realigned, if it gets realigned as part of this development, the DOT will make us prepare extra traffic studies, look at something called an ICE study, and look at intersection control evaluations for the new realigned road. So as part of that, you're going to look at a 4-way stop control, roundabout will be an option, traffic signal, yield condition, whatever that may be. They will review the study and approve one of those traffic calming measures, if you want to call it. In this case, I think there's been a study that Mark brought up, as well as a separate study by Keck and Wood, and both have come out with the conclusion that a traffic signal here is warranted, as well as a roundabout. So if we have to go in for a permit with the DOT to realign Rock Road to realign Lee Burr Road, they could tie that signal to this development as well. So that could help expedite that signal, and you know, you don't necessarily have to deal with the DOT. You might not get the full upgrades on 81 that you're looking for, but you know, it certainly could be tied to this development.
Thank you. Any other questions from council?
This kind of reminds me of what Ann said about the last one with Schuyler Drive back in the day. This also is in the county currently, and the county has approved storage units right past it, heat and air right down the street from it as well. And we've seen through lost negotiations how hungry they have been for money recently. So would y'all, if y'all don't get zoning here, would y'all most likely go to the county and get something similar to zoning that they offer? So either way, it's going to be a development, just this is a way we, as citizens of Loganville, can direct it in a way that protects our citizens better.
I'd have to talk to the purchaser, but that's definitely an option that he would look at.
Wouldn't be unusual. A few years ago, we limited the number of used car lots in the city. And we did that specifically because we didn't want to be like a sister city up the road about 10 miles where they had a used car lot on every corner of some intersections. But lo and behold, and we knew this was a possibility, used car lots started popping up right outside the city limits. And they're still there. So, you know, that's always a possibility.
Well, and I mean, for the rest of the council, because I mean, I travel this road every day. And it is, if I want to go to Lowe's, I go to Leebird to 81 to left on Rock. I try the best I can not to have to turn left on 81. I mean, because you got people screaming up 81 from downtown that are going around the curve and at night, and there are so many wrecks. I mean, I can hear him hit the fence. This just seems like a good fix to realign these. So would Rock, if you realign these, if you were successful, would Rock cease to exit onto 81?
That's my understanding,
Yeah.
that the plan would be, it would.
Yeah, okay.
And what would be the required buffers between Laurel Mist and something like this, Tim? Is it 50 foot?
No, there's 30-foot buffers between commercial and residential. And that would be 30 foot on their property line, not counting the green space that's at Laurel Mist.
Mm-hmm.
I have does the county have a multifamily zoning?
I don't know if they do or not. If they did, I would imagine it would be based on sewer capacity.
On what?
On able to, they do have a dense zoning, but you have to have a city sewer system connection. But we do not offer sewer outside of city limits.
I'm just wondering if there was a possibility, if we didn't do something with this, they could go to the county and do multifamily.
I'm not sure if they have
Okay.
one or not, I'm not sure.
Okay, just curious.
Okay.
So
Linda, are you ready for?
I would make one comment that we all are clear. The developer, if this is approved, may put a road wherever they see fit and try to line up. But at the end of the day, this is a GDOT decision. If they say, you know what, I wish y'all to move that road 10 feet this way, we're not going to give you a roundabout or a red light, that is their decision. So it's impossible for me to sit here and say that if they build this road, that road will line up perfectly. I know Lee Bird has to be turned to the left a little bit to make it square because it's at an angle. That's something we would work with the developer if approved, but at the end of the day, this is their road and they make the calls on if it's a roundabout, if it's a red light, or if you do anything at all. They also make the recommendation and approval if you get a curb cut on their road, which they will tell you that. So just want to make sure we understand that. Just because they build a road doesn't mean this is guaranteed.
I understand.
But if the road is a condition, they'll still have to get the permit through GDOT and still have to go through that process, right?
And I guess my question is then what happens if they don't get that permit?
Yeah, then we've got a strip mall or whatever gas station that we're gonna have here, and nothing's been done about it.
Well, not
Well,
if we
I'm more
condition it.
thinking, and Tim, I know disagrees with me about this, but if you place a condition on the property that they are going to realign this road, and then, as Danny says, it doesn't line up, then they've satisfied their condition. Alternatively, if they don't get permit for curb cut or wherever that is, you've got this piece of property there zoned with a condition on it, that they realign the road.
It'll go with the property unless the council changes it.
Yes,
correct?
yes.
That's correct.
So you can make a zoning condition that they build the road, but at the end of the day, GDOT still has to give us permission to connect those roads with a controlled device of some sort.
Right, and that's what the city has no control over. So you may just realign some roads and nothing ever happened there because GDOT said, like you said, it's 10 feet over or it's this or whatever. So that's what I'm saying. You could
Yes,
go
I mean-
through all of this, give it commercial zoning, do everything, and at the end of the day, GDOT's still not due because everything wasn't just right.
I would certainly think, in all cases, we would know that before anything was built. Would we not?
Correct.
Well, I don't know.
They would have
Would we not?
to,
That's correct.
I mean,
when they submit development plans, they would also have to submit plans to GDOT.
right.
And they would have to get an approval from GDOT before they could even connect the road to 81. So they would already have the approval to do that. What would be up in the air is what traffic calming devices would be installed at that intersection.
So let me make sure I got the order of things right. So if we voted to annex them and give them the zoning they asked for, then they would submit the plans to the GDOT, with the condition. They would submit the plans to GDOT. If GDOT at some point, at that point, turned them down and said, no, we don't approve that, then they would have the opportunity to come back to us for us to eliminate the condition?
They'd have to apply for rezoning. Because once you put that condition on there, that is the zoning.
Right.
And that you could not lift, the city couldn't lift it on its own. I mean, it's not like y'all could sit down and be like, okay, that didn't work, we'll just take that off. They would have to come and apply for rezoning to the city, again, to specifically remove that condition.
Right, but to Melanie's point that we would just end up with this piece of property that didn't have the roads connect, that really wouldn't happen. Because if the GDOT turned them down, they would come back to us for a rezone and say, hey, we gave it the old college try, we did all of these steps, we tried, et cetera. It didn't happen, we want to rezone to X. But at that point, they would have done their due diligence to try to get it to work, and then we could deal with it, right?
I mean, well, Danny's right, they would have to wait a certain amount of time to come for the rezone, and then I mean, I can't answer what you all would do at that point if they come and ask for rezoning to remove that condition.
No, but that would be our opportunity at that point. It's not like it would sit idle forever. They could say we did it, and then we would revisit it at that point to remove the condition or change the zoning, et cetera.
2 years?
1 year.
1 year.
1 year.
And, you know, this particular project on the roads was a city priority #1 for at least 2 years, Danny, before we found out the Highway 20 was coming quickly.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I just don't know if we want to make it a zoning condition because I don't want someone to be locked with a piece of property they could not use at no fault, nobody's except for the state of Georgia.
Well, I understand,
Can we
but I
make it
want
part of the
to,
final plat, Tim,
I want to make sure
without a zoning condition?
that if we do this, that road's going to be moved, whatever that takes.
Well,
But I don't
nobody
think
can
we
sit here
I
and say
think
the road
they're
will
gonna
for
move the
sure.
road, you just may not have any traffic calming at that intersection.
Well, okay, so in my 2 cents, because I'm also an engineer, Mr. Edge, so there's a lot of issues with both intersections. Both those intersections have accidents, crashes, excuse me, I shouldn't say that. Where Rock Road intersects 81 is you're coming around a curve. There's a lot of benefit. So I think when you start talking risk as far as GDOT accepting a change, I think, yes, there's a risk, because there's always is. But I also think it's a very good opportunity if we could make it a condition and as part of the condition say that it realigns to intersect with Lee Bird Road. That's a win for us if we get that. But there's without a doubt taking the 2 intersections and placing them across each other is a safer condition. As far as traffic calming, it's not a traffic calming issue, it's a traffic intersection, it's a traffic issue. And that's just like Mr. Edge said, the study will be done, they'll determine which traffic measure is appropriate for that location. So I think it's kind of low risk on that end.
And had we had the money to fix that road 3 years ago, we would have those same issues if we were building it too.
Yeah, but we would have a plan already in place before we bought any property from the state, an answer. I agree with everything Councilman Duvall is saying. I just want to make sure you know that from a city manager, I cannot guarantee
I understand.
you all that the state is going to But it is, I mean, I talked to District 1, they love this project. They travel this area just like we all do. But, you know, it comes, and then also you got the money involved, which they love comparing money with our money. So if they don't have to buy the land, it's a win-win for all of us. You know, I appreciate the developer willing to put this piece of parcel in play for a road, and he's gonna build it to a city standard, which we won't have to do any upgrades to it when it becomes a public road, if it becomes a public road.
Yeah, and I also talked to I work with a lot of traffic engineers, and I talked with them as well as District 1.
Okay, we want to go to public comment? Okay, is that what you're going to do, Linda?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, anyone who'd like to make public comment, please feel free, and we'll start here.
Again, my name's Danny Maloney, and I'm sorry if I hopped up before everybody, but I sure am hungry, so I'm gonna make this brief. Again, thank you, men and ladies of the City Council, for giving us the opportunity to come up here. Again, I live at 395 Toller Drive, and a longtime city resident of Loganville. This seems to me like, in the last case, it was progress without preparation. Just based on the amount of time I've listened to all you folks up here talk about preparing for the progress, this is a no-brainer. I understand that we do have a green space over in the vicinity of where Mr. Myers and his people want to propose this development, which also has a buffer zone to it. Yes, 81 is loud and noisy, but to take away taxpayers' money to do something that somebody is willing to pay for, it's just a win-win situation for the city. It's a win-win situation for the taxpayers. It's not coming out of our pocket. He's willing to go by the guidelines that you set forth, and I just like y'all to sit and think long and hard about what this is. And if you have to put in stipulations, I just asked Mr. Myers, if they don't want a gas station, don't put a gas station in there. Go back to the developer and say, no gas stations. I don't know if anybody's been down to the new Truist Park. Make it like a battery. Make it like where it's a double story, if allowed. Make it where you have a green space out there where people can come from the local neighborhoods, possibly walking and eating outside with their families. I don't know if those conditions can be put in there, but if he's going to put in a nice shopping center where people can walk, yes, it does snow in Georgia sometimes. If you can't get groceries, a place to walk would be nice. I know when I live over here in Toller, Ingalls, when it snowed, that was my first place. Hop on the four-wheeler, go up to Ingalls, get my groceries. You know, so it would benefit the community in many ways. It would give a place for families to come out and sit and eat a family dinner and then walk home. Maybe put in a dog park where they can go. I don't know what's planned. But, I mean, the whole thing is if a developer is willing to come in and change the road to the guidelines of the DOT and save the city of Loganville money that you could spend somewhere else where the city manager needs it, that's a no-win situation. And even Miss Ann here, she lives by there. She's affected by the noise. So adding this isn't going to affect anything plus or minus to what it's doing now. I mean, you're still going to have 18-wheelers flying up and down the road honking their horns. So to me, I would ask the city council to approve this based on the money that you're going to save the taxpayers of Loganville. You need to do it anyway. Do it when somebody's willing to give you the money to do it. And if he's willing to do it to the DOT guidelines, that's a no-win situation. Thank you so much for hearing me out. I appreciate it, and y'all have a very Merry Christmas.
Thank you. You too. Okay, sir?
All right, so I'm a little bit better prepared for this one. So the other one, it's just, my kids go to both of those schools. So hey, the good thing is I will make zero commission off of this talk. So, only thing that I'm, here for is my neighborhood and really my community. So we're making a lot of assumptions here. Okay, when I moved to Loganville, and I hadn't lived there 40 years, like some of you guys, but in 2017, the traffic already sucked up there. And I moved in, I said, well, wait a minute, somebody's got to be looking at this. This is not normal. Every, couple of months, you've got a new section of fence going up, where people ran into it, right there at the intersection. And, I've asked him a lot of questions. He's probably annoyed with me. About it, and I've emailed the GDOT on it, and I can tell you is that even from the developer aspect, like nobody can tell you what GDOT is going to do and what they're not going to do. Okay, we're making a bunch of assumptions. We're assuming that they're going to put in traffic calming devices. We're assuming that they're going to approve it. We're assuming that they would be okay with ending Rock Road. Okay, and right now, if you're making all those assumptions and you approve this thing, they build the road, and we have to wait another 5 or 10 years until we get a traffic calming device. The traffic problem doesn't get resolved. All you're going to have is all that traffic that backs up past my neighborhood entrance, by the way, and that's a pretty far way down. All they're going to do is, instead of being there, they're going to be at this intersection backed up, and you can't get anywhere between 5 and 6. Okay, so I would have to walk. Maybe, a grocery store would benefit me because it'd probably be easier to walk there instead of have to drive through that traffic. So the GDOT stuff, like all those promises, same with the evergreens I talked about that Breda was supposed to put against Laurel Mist, like that didn't happen, okay? So unless, there's a plan, an actual plan, that GDOT's approved, the city's approved, I think Walton County may have some skin in the game, maybe not with the annexation, but until people have approved a plan, then maybe we shouldn't, approve something based off an assumption. Now, I want the traffic problem solved, and look, I'm willing to compromise. You said places to eat, like the Battery and things like that. Like, I'm thinking Dollar Generals, gas stations. That's what I'm thinking, because that's what I've been seeing pop up around Loganville. Okay, I haven't really seen nice things. And there's still some centers, and you guys shop at Dick's, you guys, I don't know if you go to the butcher store, I do. There's still plenty of retail space to put some of this nice stuff, and we're not getting it, right? So that was one of the things. Man, the clock is ticking a lot faster on this. If it's been a city priority, then why isn't it on GDOT's radar? That's one of the notes I put. Let's see. As far as, the noise and the traffic, I can tell you that the cul-de-sac that I live is Bay Mist. You don't see it on here. But it backs up to, it's probably the closest cul-de-sac to 81, with the exception of maybe these houses. But I can tell you, by just people cutting down trees, the noise level has changed dramatically. Okay, so any vegetation that you remove, anything that you do to green spaces, like the noise is going to change. As far as, the neighbors that live backed up to there, I feel sorry for them, okay? Because what's 30 feet? I don't think this room, this from me to the city manager, I would think is probably 30 feet. Okay, that's the buffer. All right, that's green space, and the green space is very small in the cul-de-sac up there. Okay, that's where you have your garbage bins. That's where you have, and I wouldn't know. I'm making assumptions too up here. Now I can tell you that obviously the traffic is an issue, but I think the mayor stated that traffic could be, shouldn't be the reason. It should be a consideration, right? So again, it's kind of like we're playing both sides here. Here, all we talked about is traffic, traffic, traffic. And yes, I want to save money. I already pay too many city taxes. But again, this is based on all assumptions. Okay, what I don't want to happen, it's for them to get approval with the assumptions that GDOT is going to allow traffic calming devices, and it never happens. Like Breda getting approval to do commercial and never putting up those evergreens. Same thing, never, just didn't happen. So thank you guys for your time. I appreciate what you guys are doing. I do want to see the traffic ease. And if you do put something in there, I do like steak, but it doesn't have to be steak. So thank you guys.
Thank you. Okay, I see. Let's go here, and we'll come back to you, Bill.
Good evening. My name is Gary Warnicki. I'm 85 years old, and from what you're saying, it won't be done while I'm still living, so why worry about it, right? But I've been, my property is in Kings Ridge, which is right smack across, and my daughter was here with me, and she's been keeping track of the last 6 years or so, over 50 accidents. This is Rock Road, not the one you're talking about. And she's been out there, other day she was out there taking care of a guy that was in an accident before the EMTs got there. Now, this is something that everybody sounds like it's not a traffic problem, it's not this or not that. But now, she lives in the city, I own the property, and I live in Forest Ridge subdivision. Now, when there's, like I told Mayor Curry one day, if you don't get these things fixed, there's always Bay Creek to go to Monroe. And of course, he laughed me in the face. He thought that was kind of strange. But the idea of being safe now, she has up against the 81, and there's brakes screeching constantly, and people are coming out from Rock Road. The other day, I had to stop my truck on a four-wheel slide because people were not watching. There were so many cars. People can't judge how far cars are. And I know this is a little bit, I respect your deal that you want to do. But then if we get into that area and put in shopping centers, small shopping centers, that's where shootings begin. People get there, have nothing to do but make a problem. Now, that's a good neighborhood out there, as you guys say, that live along it. But we certainly don't need, if we ever get to that point, to have a shopping center in that little area. Now, okay, if they get the Rock Road moved, and with the stoplights and all that, that would be 5 or 6 years at least. We need to go along with Mr. Meyer, but no shopping center. It's just a matter of we're going to start seeing some murders and shootings and drinking and all this drugs and all that stuff because they love strip shopping centers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Bill, you had your hand up. We'll come right to you next, okay? Come on up, Bill.
My name is Bill Bacon, and I appreciate everything y'all do. Sarah used to sit right there, I think, for many years. I live off of 81, and from the time you get off of that end of 81 until you pass where I live is a racetrack. I mean, just as fast and hard as you can go. Wrecks all over the place. And when I heard about making a road that just went straight over, I thought, you know, the good Lord must be looking over us. Now, I may be wrong. At 85, I've made some mistakes. But I am all for this. Thank you so much.
Let's see, we've got this young lady here next, and then we'll come right back to you, okay?
Good evening. My name is Linda Johns, and I live off of Lee Bird Road, or live on Lee Bird Road. We are not opposed to this property being annexed into the city. We would prefer to see homes there instead of businesses. That entire strip of property right there is literally centered around homes. So More homes, fine. We don't need any additional strip shopping centers. At this point in time, we see them all over the city, all over the county, and they're all empty or trashed. And that just doesn't make for a good view of our city. So as far as this road of realigning it, I understand, you know, the Rock Road and that curve right there is extremely dangerous. But unless there is a true solid plan to take that traffic, as the gentleman just said, that traffic backs up past his subdivision on Rock Road. That traffic, if you don't have a plan, is now going to be literally, as I come out of my home on Lee Bird Road and go down to 81, is going to be facing me. And that with no plan, there's going to now be, instead of me looking left and right, I have to look left and right and whoever's across from me now in order to get out on the road. So that's actually going to make that intersection worse until something happens, and we don't know that that something is ever going to happen. I mean, we've been waiting forever for a traffic light at Publix, and we still don't have one. And there have been tremendous amount of accidents at that point in time. So as far as the accidents and trying to make that intersection better at Rock Road, I agree there. Something needs to be done there, whether they just put a roundabout at Rock Road or what have you. But just to dump that into Lee Bird and not have a plan, that's actually going to be back to where we were this evening at the beginning, where we are literally having a massive traffic issue and no solution. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, sir.
Hi, my name's Jim Goldsby. I own 883 Lee Bird Road, which is, it's almost, just kind of almost barely off that map. But, you know, I'm in favor of something happening there. You know, I mean, we moved there in 1971, so 52 years ago. Wow. And, you know, you could lay out in the middle of 81 highway back then, but you can't now. And, you know, some type of realignment would be, you know, with maybe, what's it called? A roundabout or a light, you know. We have the opportunity here to do it right before kind of the more growth comes in versus down here at Ozine, you know, after watching that, you know, it's a huge mess over there, it looked like to me. But, you know, I just feel like, you know, I mean, it's even hard to get out of the driveway over there. And, you know, I feel your pain. But, you know, I've seen Loganville grow over the past 50-something years, and I feel like, you know, it's growing well, you know, planning ahead, you know, like this possibly happening in 5 or 6 years, you know, and especially if we can get the property given to us, you know. But, yeah, something needs to happen. You know, too many wrecks at Rock and Lee Bird, and, you know, we don't even leave the house, you know, if at certain times of the day, because it's just not worth it, risking your life trying to turn left onto 81, you know. So, thank y'all for your time, and I had this big old long script, but everybody's already covered pretty much everything, and so thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, sir, you can go next, we'll get you, and then we'll come back to the lady, okay?
My name's John Carr, and I don't quite live in town, but I've paid some taxes here. Enough that maybe you'll let me speak about this. We use that road pretty often, my wife and I, and it's a bad place and it needs to be fixed. And this is a good way.
Are you talking about Rock Road, or are you talking about?
I'm talking about Lee Bird Road,
okay,
and Rock Road.
Okay.
This is a good opportunity to get it fixed at no expense. As far as solving the traffic problems there, those traffic problems tend to get fixed when they get bad enough. And I'm sure that the Department of Transportation has a list of crossroads, and some of them are crossroads in South Georgia where there's 200 cars a day, and some of them are crossroads like here where there's, I don't know how many thousands a day. And the one with the thousands is the one that's going to get the attention soon. It may not be immediate, but it'll be there. I think it's great that the buyer, the investor that's buying the place is willing to do that. As far as what business is needed there, it's real easy for us that we don't have crap invested in it, but these guys are putting, I don't know how many millions of dollars into it, and I guarantee you they've got a pretty darn good idea about what's needed there and what'll work there. And if it's needed there, it's the people that live around there that will be using it. Does that make sense?
Sure.
I mean, that's, as far as the traffic, the development, I've heard, what I've heard mostly tonight, I think, is that people want Loganville to stay like it is. We've lived here 40 years, and we live off of 81 South, and like somebody said a while ago, you could have taken a nap in the middle of 81 then and not worried. It probably wouldn't have been a car along. That's going to happen, and I empathize with everybody that's been up here talking about it's going to ruin their neighborhood, because we've got the same sort of thing about to happen to us. And our choice is, number one, it makes our property worth a lot more, that there's so much more traffic there. That's a good thing. And in some of your cases it won't be, but the progress is, the people are coming, and we're not going to stop it. And we'll deal with the problems when they get big enough. When they get bigger than other things that we have to deal with, then we'll deal with them. The crime, it comes with the population, and I really don't think that a shopping center is going to be add any more to that than, I mean, it's the people that live around there and that control what's going on. I sold real estate for a while, and I remember a real estate agent coming in and talking about selling a piece of property right down on, I forget the names of things nowadays sometimes, but down near Zoo Atlanta, when I thought I wouldn't go down there and walk around. I mean, the chances that you'd get shot. But a few years, they were buying those houses for $10,000 or $12,000. A few years later, the people that lived there cleaned the place up, and those houses are selling for a fortune. I mean, they took little kids down there when it was bad. And I mean, how bad a neighborhood that is depends on the people that live there. And if you keep it straight, it's going to be straight. A service station's not going to ruin it. Anyway, I'm in favor of doing that. Another thing that I've not heard mentioned here tonight is that I believe that the property owner ought to have a lot to say about what they can do with their own darn property. They bought it and paid for it. And I think if you want to keep a chicken restaurant out, then buy the property, and then you don't have to put a chicken restaurant on it.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Okay, we had you next, and then we're going to get you next. We got two over here, okay. We'll get back to you.
Hi, I just have a quick question. I'm Ted Johns. I live there on Lee Bird Road. Is Rock Road in the city or in the county? It's in the county. It's a county road. Why is the city worried about traffic problems on a county road instead of on our city roads?
If I'm not mistaken, it's in both. Part of that road is in the city.
Well, according to the land plat that we have for the city, that's in the county. So is the end of Lee Bird Road.
Tim? when we studied that, I believe this county owns a piece of it right at the intersection, and we own quite a bit of it.
Yes, we own what's down in front of Laurel Mist and Tradition subdivision.
Right.
But where it connects to 81 is actually in the county. However, we have that service agreement with the county, and the city of Loganville is the one that responds to all the accidents there because we're the quickest to it. So, I mean, we already service that road, but that one section is in the county.
And our focus was Lee Bird Road, but also that helps with the Rock Road.
But what I'm saying is, as far as the traffic on Lee Bird Road, if you dead end Rock Road into Lee Bird Road without your traffic signals or a turning lane or whatever you're gonna have to put in there, it's gonna be impossible for us to get out.
Okay, I got one gentleman here, and we're coming to you, okay?
Hey, everybody. My name's Richard Mendel, and I live right in the middle of this. I'm the second house on Rock Road. In the mornings, I can't get out of my driveway. And then when I do get out, I finally get to the intersection, I can't make my left turn. On the way back, it's the same thing. Something has to be done there. And it baffles me why they would pave 81 before they would do something at those two intersections we're talking about. I mean, that's like putting the cart before the horse. That had to be very expensive. But I'm all for whatever will solve that problem. And then now you got the big subdivision that is down Shannon Road. So it's like coming through a gauntlet right there. Because, you know, you got Kings Ridge to the right, then you got Shannon Road, they just built, I don't know how many houses down there. So what's become of Rock Road is it's just a cut-through road. Because 20 is such a mess, now these people, they figured out that they can go down Brand Road and then come down Rock Road. And like he said, I'm sure it's backed up to Laurel Mist. I mean, I see it. And again, we won't go out at certain times. But it's very dangerous. And if it takes, them, putting a commercial there or whatever they got to do to get that road, I mean, I think the city, that's a lot of money, $1.5 million to be given to them for a road. But anyway, that's my 2 cents, and I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Young lady, you've got the mic.
So my mom's hearing aid battery died, so I'm going to try to talk louder. Just
Okay.
kidding. So I moved my parents down here from New York. My father is a retired police officer. My brother is a retired New York police officer as well, 24 years. Never thought we would see the changes come as quick as we did here in Loganville. But my parents, I put them in my backyard, so our backyards touch because they're not getting any younger, and I want to be able to take care of them. Both of our backyards back up on the green space you guys are talking about. It's going to be basically 81 is behind us, and the road right next to our house is Rock Road. So I disagree with some of the opinions on that the traffic and the noise is not going to get louder. I've listened to it in the 14 years that I've lived in this house get louder. I can't imagine even going down 81 to the new roundabouts and seeing all that progress, but seeing how loud and noisy the lights alone. When I came up of the hill, the first time I saw that, I had no idea there were roundabouts put there. And so now I can envision this is coming. So yes, the traffic has to be fixed. I do agree with the roundabout, but we are not interested in any strip mall. I don't need a nail salon, a gas station. I can ride right by Chris's Talking with Britta. They're putting a gas station right there. I prefer a racetrack. I don't want a Chinese station, a Chinese place. I want to drive, sir, if it's okay with you, I want to drive to Publix to get my milk. I don't want to go in my backyard to go get milk. I didn't move here for that. It needs to be residential. If they want to put single-family homes, because we've got enough apartments, we've got enough multifamily. I agreed with the $600,000 homes because that would increase our value. But my parents, my father was a civil service worker, my mother as well, their whole life savings is in that house that they bought in my backyard. And we're looking at our dreams crumble because we have no idea what's coming and what the property values are going to be. There will be riffraff, there will be crime, there will be people that are loitering, there will be drunk drivers hanging around. We've all seen it. That's what's coming. We're not interested in a strip mall. We don't need, I would like to propose that we fill Dick's Sporting Goods whole entire, you know how many empty spaces are there? Let's fill all of those before we decide we're gonna put some retail shops in my backyard. That's what I would propose. That's an eyesore. You guys are gonna have things turning over, a Dollar Tree. Think of the amount of things that you guys are proposing putting there that I don't even want a steakhouse in my backyard. I just don't. This is absurd for me. I just think it should be houses, and I can hear children on their bicycles. I'm okay with that. You guys want to realign the road, do whatever you have to do, but I don't need another gas station, a nail salon, nothing retail. And my mom is sitting there. I know you can't hear me. I love you, Mom. But this is important to us. I mean, I just found out about this meeting and left work. I worked for Northside for 25 years, and I rushed here in the rain and picked my 80-year-old mom up to be here for this meeting. We're not interested in any retail. I will drive a mile and go anywhere I want, but I don't need it in my backyard. I think I'm done. I think my time's up to you. My name is Jennifer Cassidy. I live at 307 Bamus Drive. And again, I back up on that green space is not very large. So anyone thinking that that's going to be some sort of a buffer, it's not. So pretty passionate about it. And I respect your time. I respect everybody here donating their time. My mom's pretty heartbroken. My mom's crying about it since she saw the sign. So there's little people that their whole life savings are in these houses, and we are not interested in any retail in our backyard. Single-family homes, we would be okay with that. A roundabout, it's progress, right? We get it. I personally have run up there and tried to save lives for car accidents. You probably have me on recording, because I come from my family of cops, calling for all those car accidents and saying, you guys need a light, you need a light, you need it. Wasn't asking for retail stores, but I was asking for them to fix basically construction. I mean, even the road, when you go to make a right, if you take your tire a little bit when you're turning on to 81 off of Rock Road, you might tumble. I mean, that is atrocious. But I just feel like the little guys, my whole neighborhood does not know this meeting is happening tonight. I mean, I know Chris is here, but I don't see anyone else here that was so passionate about it. I feel like the word did not get out. I promise you, if you had another meeting and everybody knew, this would be a packed room, because we all feel that way about it. It's my life savings. I raised my son in that house, and we did not sign up to have a Chinese, or nail salon in my backyard. My time is up. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Sort of like Mr. Baker, my legs don't work that well anymore.
You're not alone.
My name is Greg McKinney. I'm going to address a little bit different here, and partial the other. But I'm the bishop of the Harvest Church over off of Sardis Church Road. There, with the wrecks that is happening there, you haven't had fatalities yet. You've had injuries. Now, you may not get the call at 2 or 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, but I'm an awful young man to have a lot of gray hair. And I sit at hospitals because of wrecks, and I sit at funeral homes crying with people because things does not get addressed that needs to be addressed. And these road conditions is this. Now, on the business part of it, I own McKinney Pine Straw. And I live down 81. Matter of fact, 2255 Highway 81 South. And I wish all of you knew that, because I need your business. Okay? And I do pull trailers, and I do run trucks, and I do turn in Shannon, right there beside Rock Road. Try that with a truck and trailer. Try getting out there with a truck and trailer. Try turning on Rock Road with a truck and trailer. Try turning off of it, coming off of Lee Bird. And all these subdivisions, I'm in and out of them. I wished a lot more. But this does need to be addressed. Seems pretty smart to me if the road's going to be given to you. Why do you want to argue with it? If you do want to argue with it, the next wreck that happens, you might be calling me to preach your children's funeral or your granddaddy that couldn't move. And to address something else too, as far as traffic, you put this road in, you get a roundabout, it'll slow traffic down. Because I hate them. And I drive it all the time, and nobody around here knows how to get in one and keep going. So they all come to a stop, and that'll stop your noise pollution. But thank you. Come see me.
Thank you. All right, sir.
Mayor, council, thank you. Vested interest, Lee Bird Road. And I just want to second what everyone has said, because everyone has concerns with the safety. I understand that we went back over years and years of how they're going to fix this intersection. And the gentleman has said that, when are we going to finally do it? And the DOT is not going to approve it until you approve it. Thank you. Anthony?
Yeah. Your last name, Anthony? Okay, McNeely. Okay. Okay, anyone else? Okay, does the council have any other questions? Linda, you good?
Good.
Okay, because on Thursday night, the vote will be taken, and there will not be any public input. We have moved the public input to Monday nights because many people wanted to have their voice in the decision before the decision was made. So we increased the time to 5 minutes from 3, and also we made it before the final decision is made. At least people are heard. Okay? With that, I guess it's time to either go to the restroom or take finance and human resources.
Nope, I got one more. I got one more.
Okay, good. Let's do the tree ordinance.
Okay, Danny.
Why you put that in
Yeah,
I'm game.
Danny.
All right. Before we get to that, would everybody forgive us for about 3 minutes? It's been a long meeting so far. Better get one.
All right, we're gonna get started. This yours? Thank you. Okay.
That was a wonderful 3 minutes from my perspective.
Everybody's gone now.
Okay, so are we ready to go to the tree ordinance now?
Yeah, while y'all were gone, we went ahead and went through it. There were no questions, so we will put that on the consent agenda for Thursday.
He's been waiting to talk.
I'm ready when you are ready, Mayor.
Thank you, folks. Ready? Ready.
Okay, so this is a proposed tree ordinance that comes to you tonight. We've been working on this for quite some time, I believe 2 months now. Precision Planning put this together with the help of myself, Tim, Robbie, and city planner with Precision, and also an arborist on staff with Precision Planning. So I know we've sent y'all multiple draft copies of this. Everything I sent to you last week when read was considerations for you to consider. If you want to go through it one at a time, I can go through it. On page 88 in your packet, we added the word engineer to the section 4, number A. That came through talking with other city engineer, Keckenwood. They would like to see that. More than likely, this is who will review this plan when we send them the plans for development. They review that as well. This will be part of that from now on.
You're starting on, that's page 3 of the draft, is that?
Yes, page 3 of the draft, page 88 at the box, at the bottom. So I'll do it by the draft or by the ordinance?
Well, it doesn't matter. I think you start at page 1, though, or the first page. Is that, what is this document? It says, the top of the document says tree protection ordinance. I think we talked about that. Is it actually ordinance? Or is this like a reference document like our stormwater?
This will be the guidelines.
Right.
This will be a tree protection guideline. The ordinance is at the end that you would officially adopt that would reference this guideline. So yes, thank you. That needs to be a guideline.
Do you want to go ahead and move to that section 2E, part E, that talks about the central
Oh, yes, thank you.
business zoning? That's on the.
Well, I was gonna hit that on table A, but we can talk about it now. So, under the section 2, these are the exempt properties that would be exempt from this. I know the questions we had with the council was, we had Main Street overlay be exempt, or the commercial central business districts. Those are two different topics. The CBD is actually zoning on Main Street, where the overlay, Main Street overlay is just another zoning that we put on top of this as an overlay, but it does expand further than the CBD zoning does. Talked with Tim today. That zoning incorporates all of Main Street and a lot of the residential houses to Bobby Balls Drive. So it is a little bit smaller area than Main Street overlay, but it is part of that area. Now, we have it as an exempt right now, but certainly the council can tell me, you know what, Danny, we want to include it in this. And if you do, then you would flip to the next page where table A talks about the number of units per acre that they would be required. The reason Precision excluded it because typically those type of businesses are extremely small. Time you put the business, the parking, you don't have a lot of land left to put, say, 10 units of trees, which may be, if they're all newly planted, that would be 20 trees. So that's why they excluded it in the draft that they presented to you all. But you can certainly say, Danny, we'd like to see it included, but maybe only 5 units per acre, which would be 10 trees at 2-inch caliber.
Yeah, that's what I was talking to you about. I would like to not have the downtown overlay district exempted because it does, some of our, typically our larger trees are historical, some of our historical homes are in that district with some of the larger trees, the, older trees. And so if they're exempt, then that doesn't protect those trees. So I don't know if we can just,
So this ordinance, what it does not do is limit anyone from cutting trees down. They can cut any tree they want to down, but they would be required, if adopted, to plant the number of units per acre, whatever you set. There is a set guideline, so to answer Councilwoman Long's question, if we say take 254 Main Street, it's that, say if it was that one long tract, there are several pecan trees on there that I believe it's a little over 1.2 acres. Whatever that density was, we would have to plant back a new trees or pick a tree that maybe represents one big tree may take care of those 5 units or 10 units. So there are options in here that you can keep trees. We encourage you to keep trees because you get more credit for existing trees than you do planting new trees, which we'll talk a little bit later. So just I want you to understand that this does not limit anyone from cutting trees down. This is not limited to any residential property that's currently zoned residential. This is for developments of new construction. Residents are not affected by this. Now, certainly if a resident has 5 acres and turn around and wants it rezoned to commercial or a PUV or something, then they would have to adhere to this if it was approved. So just know if you have a residential property now, as long as you don't change it, you don't have to adhere to this.
As long as it's not built on right now. Because you have a structure, it says here that an exempt property, a residential, hold on,
Yes, if you have a residential zone but nothing on it, then yes, this would affect you.
then it does apply.
Yes,
Yes.
it's for current
You're not exempt.
dwellings. In Sentence A, right there, tells us Section 2.
Right.
Any single residential lot
the
occupied by
dwelling.
not more than one dwelling.
Right.
So,
But if you have a residential zone that has nothing on it,
yes, if you have, say y'all zone the case we just talked about, the R44, it has, say, 10 pecan trees, and it's still residential. They want to develop, they would have to adhere to this policy.
Right.
If approved.
but I know Ann's concerned, they can cut the trees down. It's just elsewhere on the property they'll have to put.
They would have to plant the number of units based on the type of zoning. That is correct.
and I guess my point is, at that point, what's the point? Like, because
We're not
this
saving
whole-
trees.
Huh?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we're not saving trees at
Yeah, I
this
mean,
point.
this whole thing
just
started to
planting
save
new
the big
trees.
trees. And now we're like, okay, well, you can cut them, but you have to plant some back, which completely
even
end runs
saving
the whole point of the ordinance. Okay, I just want to make that point.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Well, I think that to Danny's point, and that's valid, that's very valid, but to Danny's point, if you do the credits, you can encourage developers to leave the big trees because it's to their advantage. And if you don't do that, they're not gonna keep them.
Right, but what are we really getting except government overreach and red tape?
Protection of the historic trees.
But we're not
really, if
protecting
they cut
them.
them down.
Well, they may.
They can
We're
cut 'em
trying
down.
to. We don't have anything now.
Yeah,
If
but they
it's
can
where
cut them
their
down.
building
They
needs
can.
to go or parking lot, they're gonna have to cut it down, and then they're gonna have to
That's
plant
right.
somewhere else.
And then they plant, they plant 3-inch maples, so they get the credit for the hardwood, but all the big trees are still gone.
Well, I don't think, if the council wants to abandon this effort, then that's your decision.
Well, I know, I agree. I just wanted to make sure I
I
wasn't
wanna
missing
protect
something.
trees, but I don't think this,
I mean, I don't disagree,
Does it?
but I don't know what else we can do.
Well, the only thing that, talking with Precision Planting, those that do say you cannot cut trees down, there is a fine. But even with that, they can choose to pay the fine.
That's right.
To my knowledge, there's nothing constitutionally that says you cannot cut the tree, period, no matter what. That was quickly eliminated. There has to be some type of buyout for that. So there was nothing that we found, that Precision found, that says anybody could come in and not cut a certain tree down. Even City of Atlanta, which I believe had the most restrictive tree ordinance in the state, now you can make the penalty so severe that you don't want to cut it down, but then we get in that whole thing where was that money go? And that's something that the council at the beginning told me that they didn't want to make this about money. So that's the reason why we didn't make it about money in here. We made it about, we're going to try to give you extra credit for saving the trees, but at the end of the day, you are correct. If they want to cut it down, they're going to cut it down.
I have a question. Okay, so say they cut down a tree and they have to plant back 5 trees to replace that tree. do we have any place, do they have to plant it in a certain area, or can they plant it wherever they want to plant it on the property?
So they have to, so the way this ordinance works is when they are developing, they have to submit a tree plan to planning and development. That plan has to identify the trees they're saving, if they are saving trees. They have to tell us what type of trees they are, the size they are, and then we calculate the units, how many trees that they're saving. If they're not, then they have to designate where those trees are being planted. And there's guidelines in here that says how you plant them in clusters. They can't be by themselves. Can't be more than one tree type or another. It had to be a blend. Those are in here. That is part of the plan that we would review when someone submits a development to the or to Tim's office, and then we would submit that to our engineers to review that, hey, this developer is adhering to this plan, just like we do with all of our buildings. So yes, there is a set of plans that we see of the type of trees they are going to plant, where they're going to plant them, and the credits that they will get for those trees based on the size they choose to buy. Those are the tables laid out throughout this 16-page document.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
but if
So
we don't want it,
basically, I guess it would be fair to say that we're making an effort to save the large historical type trees, but there's no guarantee.
that's correct.
But only on big acreage. So we're not saving historical trees on small.
But we're not doing
No.
residents, that's right.
So this covers all the zonings in the city of Loganville. Doesn't, if you go to, I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but if you go to page 5 of your packet, page 90 of the packet, it talks about the different zonings. R44, 20 units per acre. RS22, which is your overlay. CSO, RM4, RM6, half of a unit. If you plant a 6 to 7 unit diameter tree, you get 1.2 units. So if you got a 5 acre tract, 5 times 20, that's 100 trees. So they can plant 200 2-inch trees or break it up however they want to. Or they can choose to leave one bigger tree. If you look on page 5, for 5 units it carries. So it's almost double than what for new trees. 21 to 24 inch, they get 10 units. So for one tree of a hardwood of 21 inch to 24 inches in diameter, they get 10 units for that tree. So if you had 1 acre and you had one tree, then that was to satisfy your tree ordinance. You would have to plant nothing. This is where it kind of gives the developer credit to cut all the trees, but maybe just one, because they can get credit for it. All right, so I'll jump back to page 1 now. So like I said, I'm sorry, I'm on page, any questions about question to y'all is, do you want to exclude the CBD or not exclude it? Do you even want to continue with this tree ordinance? I know some of you, I work for the majority of the council. Right, yes you have. Yes you have. So, this is an ordinance that's gonna, me and Tim talked about today, it's gonna be like an alcohol ordinance. We're gonna have to tweak this. This is, when developers hear this, or you don't have to be a developer, I know we keep saying, it could be Ann want to buy 5 acres and do something. It's a very, I ain't gonna say restrictive, but it's not complicated, but you have to, well, it's not as complicated as some. You really have to sit down and look at it and think. But to answer your question, from where we started of not cutting trees down, we found real quick, you just cannot do that. You have to have some way for the person to buy out. Because the question came up, the land right across the street from us. It's a pecan orchard. If you couldn't cut trees down, that person could literally never do nothing with that property. Because he has, 17 pecan trees? They're all huge trees. They would not be allowed to do anything with that property, and you legally cannot do that. Now you're getting into the taking clause of someone's property because they cannot build on it. So that's why we learned real quick, we had to have some type of initiative for them to save trees. But at the end of the day, they can certainly cut trees down.
So I have a question. And I know that you guys have been like ping pong balls on this ordinance.
Yes,
So
it's been a lot
I
of time on
recognize
this.
there's been a lot of time on it. I feel like that this is so watered down at this point, probably in part to address what my concerns were, and I appreciate that. that this, we've lost, and I'll say what I said before, we've lost the whole point of why we started this process. Is there any way, do we have any money during the permitting process to provide a builder or developer with a credit somewhere in the process to save the specimen trees? Rather than trying to nickel and dime, 2-inch caliper, density, percentage, blah, 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 where we say, okay, this piece of property has X number of large specimens. If you save 30%, we can give you a credit of X. Is there any money, I mean, like, I don't understand completely how the building process works, permit and finance fee-wise.
I guess you could, but you're still gonna have a policy that addresses how they calculate those credits. What
Right,
type
but
of
then it's a
which-
credit. Then we say, hey.
But then what credit are you giving up?
That's what I'm asking.
I
Which
mean, there's
pot would it
not-
come from?
There's not a lot of money that we make off of, it's a wash, because what we collect in plan review, we turn around and spend with Keckenwood to review the plan, correct?
The city makes a very small amount on actual development permits. I mean, the land service permit is $100.
Okay. So there's no there's nowhere to incentivize anybody because there's no
way you
pool of
can
money.
tie it to tap fees, because you
Yeah,
can't.
yeah, I know, we can't because of the bonds, yeah.
So our heart's in the right place.
Enough.
Right?
Mine's on.
You need a mic, Tim.
So the question, do you want me to continue, or do y'all, I mean, the majority, I know some of you are passionate about it, some of you are passionate, but you know that you're not gonna support it. You know, do we need to continue, is what I'm saying? I hate to put the 6 of y'all on the spot.
I just don't know that the citizens are gonna understand us taking a lot of time, a lot of effort, putting burden on planning and zoning, and they still see developers cut the trees down. I don't think they're gonna understand it. I just don't.
And I do appreciate all the work that y'all put in, because
Amen.
now I know what kind of the best case scenario is. I just still don't think it protects trees. I just think it puts more hurdles and confuses everybody.
Give them a greater percentage of old growth trees towards their green space. Like if a property requires 30% green space, if they get, every place they leave old growth trees, they get double percentage?
Well, in this ordinance, we gave no credit for the buffers, but I don't know if you leave a big tree out here, yes, they could use that towards a green space, and I guess we
Could
could.
they give them double credit? Could we give them more credit? Like, hey, like really, what are we trying to do? Because I'm all about the trees, right? I'm like, but not for infringement. So if they had to keep 30% green space, but hey, you've got this acre of old growth trees, we're gonna give you 2 acres of credit. For every big stand of trees you get double credit for your green space. I mean, could you go, I mean, would that be?
Can they count the buffer as green space? That's what I was afraid of. So, the reason the buffer's not included, because it's law that you cannot cut those trees down, so why give them credit for?
What if it's not in the buffer?
Right, it would have to be outside the buffer.
Right.
To answer your point, it's any development that comes.
Right.
Right now, we have a moratorium because of this tree ordinance and because of stormwater. We have to either, in my opinion, abandon this right now or continue approving it, because we cannot keep people from, there are people in waiting
Yeah.
that are
Right.
not new developments
Right.
or remodels that cannot pull permits now.
Right.
Yeah.
I think-
So I would strongly suggest either we adopt this,
Put
some
up or shut
changes,
up.
or say, you know what, Danny, it was a good idea, but let's scrap it.
I think Ann said it up front. I mean, she said there's not a person up here that doesn't want to save trees.
Right.
But at the same time, you
So
look
it's like
at
our
it.
heart's in the
this-
right place, but there's not much we can do at the end of the day.
Yeah, the study's been done. We've taken a lot of stuff out of this, and the only thing it does is it puts back small caliber trees. Yeah. I agree.
So,
That's 3.
Okay. So do we want to
Just
scrap
show
the
of
tree
hands?
ordinance?
show of hands if we're gonna
Say
pull the
again,
plug on
Linda?
this?
Do we want to go ahead and scrap the tree ordinance and stop it at this point, not spending more time and money on it?
I do.
Okay,
Guess we take a straw vote, can
Robin Webb.
we? Ask opinions.
You can take a straw vote, but you're still going to have to vote.
Vote Thursday.
Agreed.
Yeah, let's just move on with that.
I'm for scrapping it. I know that's a shocker.
What you thinking, Jay?
2.
I gotta think about it a little bit more. I mean, if we're gonna vote on it Thursday, I might as
So let me just go through it then. If we're going, since we got to talk about it, let me just, because,
I already read it.
okay.
I mean, who else? Brandon, what's your
I'll
thought?
answer questions. How about that?
That's good, Dan.
Yeah.
My thoughts is, I don't think we're saving trees here. So there's really no point in doing it. I know the thought is there, and I really appreciate the work, but I just don't think we need to touch this ordinance.
Linda?
no, I feel the same way.
Bill?
So Danny knows I had a hard time with trying to work through some of the numbers, and I get concerned too of how that's, we've come up with these numbers from somewhere, we're trying to implement them, and then how they're going to be implemented, but then the overarching picture is are we actually saving anything? So I have a hard time with it.
Comes down to y'all two.
Well, I guess we'll wait till Thursday, and I guess an appropriate thing would be a motion,
No motions.
huh?
Need a motion.
Not tonight, not tonight,
Okay,
but
okay, yeah.
Thursday night.
Yeah.
To not proceed with this possibly, if that's what y'all want. And then if it doesn't get a second, then she'll change the motion to proceed with it, and we'll move on. But gotta have a second to get it voted.
Well, and then I think if it votes and passes, then we have to release the moratorium.
Yep.
Robin, do we have to do anything tonight legally since this is an ordinance?
Can't.
No.
You don't have to read the ordinance or nothing? Okay. Just in case it passed, let's make sure, cover ourselves for tonight. In my 30 years of working here, I learned when to shut up, so I'm gonna be quiet.
Thank you, Danny. We appreciate your and Tim's hard work on all of this. We know that you've put a lot of effort into
It's not the first time I've worked on something I had to stop. It won't be the last. That's what I get paid to do.
Well, but I think
We
the good
appreciate
part of it is, we've seen the pitfalls.
And we learned a lot. I
And we
learned
learned
a
a
lot.
lot.
Tim learned a lot. Robbie learned a lot.
Well, it was more about, yes, to try to save the big trees, but it's for the generations that come behind us. If we've clear cut everything in Loganville and we didn't plant back, yes, they're planting 2 and 3 inch trees now, but in 40 or 50 years, when your grandkids are here with no trees, and then they decide to move forward with the tree ordinance, and they say, wow, back in 2022, if they hadn't have abandoned that and they'd have followed through with it, we might have had some trees on the playground or the trees in our neighborhood, but you know, as I keep getting told, every time we do anything, majority rules.
Well, that's true, but we haven't found a way yet to stop the trees we trying to save from coming down.
Don't they already plant
Well,
new
can't we always do that
trees?
as a condition of zoning? I've asked that, that was what my beginning when I started, condition of zoning. We tried to save a tree, you know, over here at Charlie Kelly's house, and that didn't get saved. I mean, it comes down to is an enforcement. You can write all the ordinances you want about anything, but if we're not going to enforce them, none of our ordinances mean anything. So if you don't have something on
Well,
paper,
that's
you
no-
can't even go back.
There's no
to the-
doubt about that. The other thing is, if you try to do it as a condition of zoning, you're making a different decision, very possibly on every zone. So you gotta have something that's gonna have some consistency to it, too.
Right, so $12,000, we just flushed down the toilet because we're going to abandon our starting point.
That was your council's vote. And if it changes Thursday, we'll go another direction.
I don't know if this one was 12. This might have been within my limit before y'all moved. I think the 12,000 was stormwater, but I could be confused. But that tree was not part of the zoning condition. That was an ask. It wasn't part of it. We do try to enforce, but do we, you know, things happen, yes, but that wasn't one of them.
I mean, I know Tim has seen developers who say a tractor ran into the tree in error, And surely you suspect that that's not the case, but who's to say? Okay, Danny, you gonna do the updates and reports?
I have no update for plan development.
Nope, I am done.
Okay, everybody okay where we are at this moment in time?
Yep.
Okay. I guess we'll move to Finance and Human Resource Committee.
I doubt that my colleagues will be upset that we are not going to discuss this tonight because we don't have enough information. We just got the contract. And so we're going to have a committee meeting on the 15th, which is next Thursday at 10 a.m., Linda, Jay, and me, to talk about waste management, the adjustment, recycling, et cetera, because that was never on the original agenda today, and that's come up. So with that being said, I'm going to not discuss that, and then,
Add movie.
what?
Movie.
Yeah, no.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
so that's my A. But we also have a B item, which is a movie that decided that we got it real late this afternoon. What was it, like 3 or 4 o'clock this afternoon?
6:05.
Yeah, they want to film again. So we have another agreement contract, which is exactly the same as before, like the terms and conditions and what we get paid. Danny handed this out. It's like this piece of paper with the green boxes. So Danny, do you want to go through it for me?
Yeah, I can talk about it. So that's the parking location. What they want to do, we have I'm working with Jason, who was here last year, but the location manager has changed. We met with him Thursday of last week. His name is Patrick. So they want to film season 2 of Zoltar. They want to come in, and he called me today at 3 and said, hey, we're going to start building the ice cream shop back on 254 Main Street. And I said, well, can you do that until the council approves it? So he said, well, I need it approved. I said, well, we're having to have a meeting tonight. I will ask to see if we can add it to the agenda. Talk with Councilwoman Ann. She said yes. So the contract you have before you is the fee for 254 Main Street and for the parking on 133 Camp Street. There will be more contracts to come, but this is I believe it's called non-filming location. I left it over there. What does it say at the top of the new contract?
We can open it up for questions.
Location agreement, thank you.
Yeah, but normally we probably put this on consent, but since it just came over this afternoon and I haven't really read it all the way through, we can ask questions, or I would like to hold this for a vote until Thursday. Is that
Yes,
okay?
because Robin got it today as
Yeah,
well.
Robin just got it as well.
And we were told that it's the exact same wording as we approved last time, but as you know, attorneys, they have to read it for themselves.
Right.
I just
Actually,
looked at the
Danny's
first
going to
word.
go through it word by word and
Yes.
compare every
So-
word. Make sure it's the
Well,
same.
Danny, you know that I've been speaking to some of the property
Yes, I was
owners.
going to get to that, yes.
Okay, so I would like to have a meeting with them first because they still have not gotten satisfied. They have not had their concerns addressed.
So
And
if I
there's,
could get those concerns, I
Okay.
would, because, I know we talked about it twice. So if you can send me whatever concerns you have, he's eager to see what it is. He did tell me today the only 2 people now he's talked to that had any concerns was the nutrition and Braxton's about a light. That's all has came to him. So if you have
Okay,
something
that's-
else, if you all have something, please get it to me before tomorrow evening if you can, so I can give it to them.
can I put you in contact with the
Sure,
owners of the?
yes, I
okay.
can do a 3-way call with the film, because it'd be up to them to make it whole, not us.
Okay.
But yes, we can definitely, they're eager, they were a pleasure to work with last year. There will be some minor changes, I know me and Melanie talked about using our trash service, like last time they didn't. That was an oversight on my part. But it was my first movie deal, was excited, overlooked, but we'll address that. So they're gonna have a little bit less of a footprint this year, they told us, if you all agree to it. They're gonna do a lot of stuff on the stage. They have built a stage, so they're not using all of the storefronts like they did last time, but if approved, they're gonna start painting with, of course, the owner's permission, I believe, next week. They would like to start building the ice cream shop next week. And that will, yes, it'll come back. That will go away when it's done.
Do you know how many months they plan on being here this time?
Same time.
And are
May
they
f-
going to be
May.
blocking the roads and the traffic and everything?
There will
like
be
they did
some times, we don't know those exact times, but like they did last time, they have to go through GDOT, get approval, they have to do a detour plan, put those signs up, so they'll do all of that. We don't even get involved in that goes between the state of Georgia and the film industry, or the film company. So one of the big things they are changing is using the parking lot behind the main street. They're gonna actually shift it, so customers can still go to their stores on Main Street, which is something that was an issue last time. They've learned a lot of lessons, they said, and they're gonna flip the location. Instead of filming next to Braxton's, they're gonna film behind the Wayne Harris building and leave the parking lot next to Braxton's open. They're not gonna take as much parking at the health department. They're gonna use mainly that lot you see in front of you, 133 Camp Street, which is a city property. It was $1,000 for that, $4,000 for 254 Main Street, and then more stuff will come. Town Green is $2,500 a day. They'll be filming on it. So all that's done through Christie and Robbie and the movie company. They coordinate with them about using the city property, but I just need authority from you all to say they can use city property. So that's what this is about tonight. There will be another contract later, but this is really so they can start building the ice cream next week.
But then the work that they did last time down Main Street in front of the storefronts and all that, they may do some of that this time. But
Yes.
that's not is that?
Fixing or making them whole.
Right.
But if they don't know about it, they can't fix it now. Certainly, they've been walking Main Street the last couple of weeks. Last week I was told from them, nobody came to them. The only people that complained was one, and they went and spoke to that person individually. And that's between them. We're not getting involved. It happened last year. They wanted for us to do something. We're not getting involved in that. That contract's between that individual and the moving company. It has nothing to do with us. Now, if it involves our property, of course we will.
And if a
They even
private
shut down
property
Main-
owner doesn't want to work with them this time, he or she doesn't have to sign a contract.
That's correct.
So,
So, any other concerns I need to have answered before Thursday? Okay?
Mr. Mayor, that's all I have. Thank you.
thank you, Ann. Okay, we'll move on to Public Safety Committee. Jay Bowler.
Thank you, Mayor. Probably a couple updates Thursday, but that's all for tonight.
Okay. We'll move on to Public Utilities, Transportation, Bill Duvall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Did they sign off and not holding us accountable to a contract?
They don't, there's
Good.
not a contract that gives them they don't get to complete the project according to the contract. They're not allowed to complete the project. This
Okay,
one's gonna take
good.
over for them.
So we're changing to this other contract. K&A is the new contractor.
Yes, it's the new contractor.
And we need to vote on this?
So there will be a contract that we will draw up.
Okay.
Robin hasn't got that, but we won't need to approve it because actually Robin's gonna draw the contract up, and we're gonna start using this contract for our this current one didn't have a contract. It was just an invoice we agreed to pay for doing the project, so there's no breach of contract, just to be clear. I know he said there was a contract, but there was not. It was just a invoice that we agreed to pay, correct? So now we're gonna do a contract, and Robin's working on that.
So the vote would be to give the mayor the authority to sign the contract once it's been drafted.
We can't put that on consent, can we?
Sure you can.
Yeah, let's
Good.
put that on consent.
Okay. Is that what we want to do?
Agree?
Consent?
I know Melanie brought this up, but just so in case the public sees, this is K&A. It says salesperson Kyle McKenzie. This is not affiliated with Kyle McKenzie whatsoever. This is another company. Full disclosure, an employee of this company does work with us, but this is her husband's company, which very good contractor. Yes.
All right, Mr. Mayor, second thing on my list is, it's that time of year where we need to turn in our request for GDOT's Local Maintenance Improvement Grant. As everyone's aware, we get a portion based on the road mileage in our city compared to the other municipalities and counties around the state. Our proposed 2023 LMIG is $139,734.35. With that, we have to provide a 30% match, which is $41,920.31. Brandon, the road department, and all have looked at the roads, and Cletus has looked at the roads, and so we've prioritized to pave portions of Leeburg Road and portions of Old Zion Cemetery Road, and to be used with the LMIG funds. We want to. That's what we're planning on doing. Let's try to look at the mileage here. It's 0.3 miles on Leeburg, it's 0.28 miles on Old Cemetery, and then there's an alternate on there of 0.22 miles, and I think that this is our estimate depending on how bids come in. Danny, is that correct? We want to have that as an alternate?
Yeah, so what we'd like to ask y'all is to prove, we talked about this not last year, but this year when we did LMIG, to start putting more money towards this instead of doing the minimum. So when Bill and I talked, we're getting $128,000. I would like to go ahead and put a not to exceed amount of $300,000, including engineering, and pay what we can for $300,000, and then also have a $50,000 not to exceed for the enterprise fund to pave the portion of road behind the sewer plant that we were not able to do during the phase 2 because of the pricing. We did that this year as well. So what we would be asking is amount for LMIG, including the grant from the state of Georgia, plus the difference. I believe it was $181,000. It's not to exceed $300,000. The roads, just for the paving, the milling, came up. I just got it a little while ago from Keckenwood. It came up to $287,163, but that does not include mobilization or any of that. That's just milling and paving. So we know we're going to exceed that $300,000. So we're going to have to cut back this list. But we would like council to approve $300,000 plus $50,000 from the enterprise fund for a section, I believe it was 0.18 for a new road behind the plant.
And so the plan is obviously, the LMIG will be awarded in January, or that's when the legislature votes on it. Then we will, our goal is to have these plans together and ready to let in March. Typically, GDOT starts their big resurfacing programs in April, but we're thinking if we can get it advertised in March, we can try to beat some of the bidders to work and get a better price.
And so page 103 explains from the staff report, $181,654.66 will come out of the general fund. That includes the grant. And then we would like to include an additional amount of $118,345.34 to come out of the general fund. Now, those funds may ebb and flow when we get a bid. I know you haven't done bid openings, but we have no idea what we're going to get when we get a bid opening with the market the way it is. $300,000 may be one road. We may think it should get 3 roads, but it may only get 1. So don't be surprised if I come back to you after we get the bid open and say, look, it's more money than we thought, but we had the money to spend. Let's go ahead because we have to start paving more than we've been doing. We've got to get caught up. Historically, we have not done it, but that's something that I've took initiative as city manager to start paving more. But paving a quarter of a mile at a time, it's not cutting it. We have 61 road miles, or give or take.
57.
57. Another thing we're going to do different is instead of paving roads like in a subdivision that may be a cul-de-sac with 10 houses, we're going to start paving roads that have significant traffic on it. Leeburg Road is a rating of a 51 out of 100. Old Zion Cemetery is a rating of a 49. So we would like to pave heavy travel roads first, get more bang for the buck, versus paving, nothing against Terra, but Terra. Terra needs it just as bad as this, but I doubt Terra gets the traffic like Leeburg Road gets, or Old Zion Cemetery. So that's been my approach, as long as it meets our Street Saver program, which tells us what we should do. And another thing, we're trying to stay in one area versus going to 10 different areas, because every time that equipment moves, there's a cost associated with that. So that's something Bill and I started last year working on, and that's something we're going to continue if the council lets me.
We're gonna need to consider that when we do the budget this next time.
Trust me.
I mean, we've got to
We're
put
already-
more than
yeah.
100,000 at
We
it.
started to, yes.
Got to.
But paving is not cheap. It's, I think we looked, Brandy, you remember what I said it was a foot? Was it $75 a foot? That's just based on a little bit of milling and 1.5 inch of overlay. You don't know what you have to mill until you get down to the road. Like you saw with the fire department, we thought it had a good base, but you don't know until you expose it, and then there's a big void. So we may find that with Liebert, we may find that with Ozone. These roads have been here before I was born, so who knows? But we gotta start.
So this proposal is to do a resolution so that we can move forward with the application for LMIG. We've proposed these roads for resurfacing and a not to exceed of 300,000. Is that, is council, do we like to put that on consent?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Moving forward, now we have the stormwater ordinance, the other thing that's been worked hard on. Danny?
Okay, here we go. Buckle your seatbelts.
Where's mine?
All right, this has been taught for some time, changing the stormwater guidelines. So first you have a guideline, and then at the end of this guidelines, you have the actual ordinance that you would be adopting. And then actually we would make changes in the development regs, where this is addressed. So again, y'all have had several drafts of this. The major things that we've done is taking the 2-to-1 slopes, which requires fences, out of this city. You no longer have it automatically. They can still get it due to hardships, but it has to be a council approval. That was one of the major changes. We go from a 2-to-1 to a 4-to-1 for certain areas, which is for every 4 feet wide, you only rise 12 inches. In certain categories. Those are your large tracts of land, like your overlays, your PUVs. It spells it out in page, well, it's covered up, but in the book, it's page 122. So for single family, R44, RS22, the overlay district, multifamily, mobile home, and PUVs, it's 4-to-1 or flatter. So that means it's going to take a lot more land to create that that retention pond. For your smaller acreage, like your businesses on Main Street or Highway 78, you know, it says C note 1 where it says side slopes are permitted 3-to-1, or they can use underground retention. Light industrial, heavy industry is a 4-to-1. So those are your major changes in this document, or in your zoning and development regs. Like I said, we encourage we talk about the aesthetics. That was what this was built over, was aesthetics. That's what we heard from you all. That's what we presented to the engineer group that did this, Precision Planning. As you see, we encourage bioswales, which are your decorative things that, you know, you can do to capture some of your water. There's bioretention, infiltration practices. Those all spell out. I'm not going to get too in depth because unless you got an engineer degree, it may be complicated. But like I said, you can see on page 124 the biocells, retention, infiltration. Like for large tracts of land, you're not allowed to use it. If you're retrofitting a piece of property, then it's encouraged. But it's made for small tracts of land. Now, let's say you get a business on Highway 78 that is, I think, 33,000 square foot is the minimum you can have to build. Time you put a parking, the building, you don't have room to do a 3-to-1. So they can either do underground retention, or they can appeal to you all for a hardship case, and it cannot be based on financial. It has to be on some type of, what's the word I'm looking for?
Space limitation.
Well, it has to be some type of engineer problem. Soils don't support it, something like that. So, I'm sorry, something technical. At that time, what would happen is their request would go to our MS4, which is our stormwater engineer, which is Precision. they would look at it and make sure what they're saying is true. Then they would recommend a recommendation letter to you all, either to support this, deny this, come up with an alternative. It would come through you all to approve it or deny it. If they approved it, then there's a section here that says they have to put a fence. I know you don't like fences, but on a 2-to-1, you have to put a fence. It's a safety issue. Somebody could fall. I don't know where it's at the end. This is a... Page 133, the appeal process. They are, another thing is this kind of reference the tree ordinance on the trees, so we would have to, depending on what happens Thursday night, either take that out or do something else, but it does reference where they could get credits for the trees they plant in the stormwater to the tree ordinance. But if we take that out, then it doesn't matter. There is a recommended list of trees, and there's a recommended list of plants and shrubs. And the reason we did that was we wanted plants that would thrive in bioretentions and swells that absorb water. So that's why we put these lists here, and they're native to Georgia. So that's something new. But all in all, this is just more of an aesthetic policy, and it's taking the 2-to-1s out and adding 4-to-1 and 3-to-1s for certain areas, or they're gonna apply for a waiver from y'all. Any questions?
So I do struggle with, you know, making the larger 4-to-1 slopes, but, you know, 2-to-1s are very hard to mow. This makes it makes the stormwater facilities easier to maintain. We certainly don't we don't like the fences. I don't like them. So I think that's a benefit. Still gives us the opportunity, if we have a hardship case, to consider that. I will say, and this is, you know, we don't want to look at a fence along our highways. We got projects coming up, they're on state route. If it's in state right of way, guess what? It doesn't cover that. However, I have talked to DOT about 20, and we can discuss with them options to help improve their detention facilities. But having a ordinance in place that the city has is also another tool in our kit to say, look, you know, we've taken that step to try to make detention facilities look better in our city. Please help us and work with us to do that. So I think that's an opportunity. So I think this is I think this approach with these new guidelines is a good approach.
So I'd just like to thank, Precision again helped us, Jimmy Parker, Joe Walter. They're the ones that put this together with help from Brandon Bill back there. He's our foreman from Stormwater. He'll tell you it's a hard thing to do. What they do is enforce this, just getting people to comply. It's an everyday, non-ending job, I would say. So thanks, Bill, for what y'all do. I think this will help Bill. It will eventually help the people that build it, because now they can have a retention pond that can be maintained versus a 2-to-1 where you can't find nobody but a handful of people that can actually maintain that. So I think in the long run, it's going to be costlier up front, but in the long run, it'll be beneficial to everyone. So,
Yeah, there's a list.
and Melanie, to answer your question on the swells in the parking lot, we saw that 2-to-1. We thought it should have been a 3-to-1, and it's corrected in here on page 123. So a lot of y'all shot me comments, and trust me, if you don't think it's hard doing 7 people at the same time, come sit in my office one day and we'll talk to answer all y'all's questions. Very good questions.
So without the last statement there about the reference to the tree ordinance, we can take care of that. Is everybody okay just putting this on consent and having this thing approved? Stormwater, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a good ordinance.
All right. Good deal. Thank you. So the next one on my list is the permit, the moratorium. We'll hold that off till Thursday. That's it.
I would just ask for y'all to consider lifting it, not extending it, because there are a lot of businesses that are eager to remodel. And one more thing about this ordinance, like, say, the Destination Park. It was permitted for this, so even though it's our park, but if I'm using that as an example, if that was a developer, they would not adhere to this. It's anybody that has not have a permit in hand now or have plans submitted prior to this, so this will affect anybody new going forward.
Okay, so if the council shelves the tree ordinance and approves or shelves the stormwater ordinance, then we're clear to go back and take away the moratorium, right?
Mhm.
Is that what you said?
Correct.
Okay. And we need to vote on that part. Okay.
No, we got another hour for it's a record.
Yeah.
I'm shooting for it too.
Okay, anything else, Bill?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. And we'll move to Public Works Facilities Committee. Melanie Law.
I have nothing tonight, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Move to Economic Development Committee report. Brandon Whitfield.
I got nothing tonight, Mayor, either.
Okay. Everybody getting tired.
I'm not.
All right.
Got my
I
second
guess
in.
we're ready to move to City Manager. I know Danny's got another extra hour ready to go. But
Yeah, we're gonna talk about laws for the next 30 minutes. So,
we've been talking about that since July.
he's getting paid extra. So,
He's asleep with his eyes open.
I believe all cities have approved the resolution that was submitted last week to you all unanimously, and it goes before the Walton County Board of Commissioners tomorrow at 6, I believe, or 6:30. 6, thank you.
Yeah.
So I know, are you going to be there, Mayor?
No,
I
sir.
plan to attend, so Mayor's already signed their resolution, right?
Yes. Yes.
I'm the president. I can't.
Got anything, Robin?
Your section or my section?
Well, we're just going to lump it all together.
All right, yes, I have nothing. Everyone can breathe a sigh of relief.
Is that in both sections now?
All the sections.
Okay, so,
No, I'm ready to go. We can talk about January's council meeting if you want.
I'll tell you what, those bathroom breaks really work,
Yeah, I know.
and they are needed. Okay, with that said, we will adjourn this meeting and we will open it up to public comment if there is any, because we have moved that to Monday nights now. So the work session is complete. Do we have any community feedback tonight? Having not seen any hands raised, we will assume there are none.
All your extra credit will go away.
I got one.
All right.
Auction ended today. We were short by $60 of making $100,000.
All right.
That's great.
Where did you find some of that stuff?
Was something I was gonna bid on. Me and Kyle were fighting over who's gonna get it, but it sold for $10,500 last time I checked, and we didn't even pay that when we bought it new. I think it was a little mini track hoe. So,
I think you tore some buildings down and found some of it underneath the buildings.
so yeah, we're glad to get rid of everything but 2 items sold. One was a Ford Ranger that was wrecked. Other one was a Murray lawnmower. But hey, we're gonna rebid it next week probably at $5.
Well, we might send those for the metal price.